The story was about a guy who lost everyone he loved because his talents were too cruel. On November 5, 2024, a mysterious stone monument fell from the skies, landing in the middle of Country R. The shockwave from that explosion destroyed the entire country. On that day, the 5 major powers of the Blue Planet initiated a blockade in that region and began scientific research. And with that, an era of change began. 1 year later in Hangxiang Province, China. Hey Lin Lu, take a look at her. 20 years old, single, and coming from another country looking for someone to adopt her. Do these people from other countries not understand what patriotism is? The friend insists, hey, talk to me. Why are you spacing out? Why are you crying? But Lin Lu is thinking, why am I at my old workplace? I was in chaotic times. 1 year after the monument fell to Earth, this place became a brutal game. Many people awakened different talents and extraordinary abilities. But on that same day, access to secret realms and waves of destructive monsters invaded the world. Humanity suffered greatly and tried to use their awakened powers to protect themselves. The world order was completely destroyed, and the only law left was the law of the jungle, where the strongest survive. To evolve my talents, I participated in countless battles. However, the enemies created ghost-level creatures and spiritual demon monsters. My brother, who had always been by my side, died in a cruel way trying to protect me. He sacrificed his life so that I could escape the secret realm. But the enemies were already waiting for me outside. All of this started because I refused to hand over the Ascension Crystal. I already knew that in chaotic times, weakness was the greatest sin. He asks the guy next to him what day it is today, and he replies that it's November 12, 2025, and asks, are you crazy, man, or did you drink too much last night? I've already told you, you need to take it easy. But Lin Lu is more interested in the information. Wait, November 12, 2025? That's 3 years ago, right on the day of the awakening. It's still morning, so there are a few hours before everyone receives their talents. Suddenly, a man in a white suit and tie arrives and says, Lin Lu, this isn't the first time I've caught you distracted during work hours. You don't align with the company's values and will be fired. Go to the finance department now and settle things. You don't need to come back tomorrow. The protagonist remembers immediately. This is Supervisor Wanshu Xiao. In the previous life, this bastard awakened a talent that turned him into a demon. He could exchange people's organs and limbs for resources to level up. With the power he gained, he created an illegal prostitution ring. I never imagined I'd run into this criminal again. The protagonist doesn't say anything and turns his back. The supervisor yells, huh, this bastard. He was raised by a bandit. I don't even know how he got a job in this company. The guys nearby agree and say, exactly, man, and he even went against your orders. He's getting too cocky. The bald guy next to them, however, says he didn't expect him to be so shy. But he just leaves without saying anything. Clearly, he knows the protagonist doesn't care about these side characters. But he remembers in the previous life, I punched him right in the face at this exact moment. However, I ended up being taken by the police because of it. Everyone's awakening happened while I was in jail. Since I was detained for 10 days, I missed a crucial period, when everyone was just beginning to develop. My brother Long Zhengdong, who had been in prison for 15 years, was also released. And we 2 orphans with no home had to steal to survive. That's when our life began to improve. My brother got out before the end of his sentence because he awakened an A-rank talent. He always kept me by his side and protected me so we could increase our abilities together. Then a situation got out of control, and to protect a girl, I accidentally killed someone. That's when I discovered the secret of my awakened talent. I could steal the ability of any opponent I killed. You absorb the soul energy and your F-rank talent has risen to E-rank. The problem was that my brother was a very stubborn guy. He didn't want me going around killing people just to steal talents. However, this made it so that I couldn't help much. And in the face of all the evil we encountered, I couldn't protect him, nor could he protect me. In the end, we both lost our lives. But I swear, in this life, I'm going to change everything I did. I'm going to make them all experience the hatred and fear I went through. If kindness didn't breed kindness, I'll handle things my own way. I'm going to be the most cruel, evil, and immoral person there is. I'll take full control of my destiny and use all the cruel people as fuel. I want to take the throne of invincibility. In the bathroom, Lin Lu of the Blue Star. Welcome to the new era. From today onward, Blue Star will open different instances in secret realms in various locations. Enter these instances and develop your combat talents. Congratulations, you have obtained a rank F talent, Plunderer. Effect: when you kill a living creature, you will steal 1% of a random attribute or 1% of a talent's ability or effect. Cooldown: 5 days. It's exactly the same thing I received in my previous life. As someone who has returned in time, I know the strategies for all the most well-known instances near Hangxiang. Inside a room, fully prepared with gloves and rope, Lin thinks, here he comes. From inside the room, he observes the supervisor talking on the phone who says, don't worry, man, I awakened a rank as talent healing comprehension. If you follow me, we'll do really well. You got a rank D ability, that's not bad. We can form a company. Don't worry, after my awakening, what's that old man going to do? He doesn't even know he'll be a target of my talent, and I'll consume him with my healing. From behind the door, the protagonist comes with the rope and loops it around his neck, saying, Well, it's good to see you again, Inspector Wang. You're my first sacrifice after my regression. The guy drops the phone and tries to use the power of healing. This is the creature I can form with my special power. But the protagonist already says, unfortunately, you won't have time to heal. It's over. Time for the next Manhua. You absorb the person's soul, and your talent has risen to rank E. The creature keeps healing the guy even after death, in a way, reviving him. And with that, he goes on killing and killing, rising from F to E, from E to D, from D to A, until finally his A-rank talent evolves to S, and Lin says, "Phew, that was worth it. Let me check my status. When you take a life, you can plunder one of the following. All attributes, effect talents, ability effects, or soul power. In my previous life, my brother and I fought hard, but I only managed to raise my talent to rank A. In this life, just a few hours after my awakening, I've already reached rank S. This is unbelievable. Let's see what the creation of form does. Come forth, my substitute." He called forth the Black Knight, solo leveling style. Substitute Black Emperor, rank S, strength 200. The normal strength of a person is 10. In addition, it has agility 200, intelligence 1, with lots of life and lots of energy. The only problem is it can only move 1 meter from the summoner. Emperor's power, strength steel. When you cause damage, there's a random chance to steal 1/5 of the enemy's attribute abilities. Lin thinks, damn, an S-rank summon is really powerful. This ability of his makes him strong even when facing powerful creatures. Substitutes produced by an S-rank talent have a maximum of 200 points in attributes, except for HP. SS ranks reach 400 and SSS ranks reach 600. The Black Emperor came maximized in 3 of the attributes. The weaknesses are that he's not very intelligent and not very fast. Besides, he can't move too far away. Anyway, it must be one of the most powerful creatures for close combat at the moment. Black Emperor, dispose of this body. Wang Zisho, in the past life, you became a demon by abusing your talent, didn't you? Now you've died in a bathroom. That was a fitting end for you. The world's going to be a mess soon. They'll take at least a month for them to figure out it was me who did this. By then, I'll already be invincible. Walking through the city, he thinks by now most people should be awakening their talents. Even the group chat from my class, which was dead, is now full of people talking. In the group, a chubby guy writes, "Hey Tushin, your talent is trash, bro. I awakened the S-rank wish book. You could call me Gaddy." The protagonist, seeing this, thinks, now I remember, this sociopathic maniac awakened the wish book. He used it to abduct the beauty of our class, Fang Mingxiu. Later, he used unknown means to kill a bunch of innocent people. He even formed a criminal alliance called the Smiling Coffin. In this life, for the sake of Hangxing Province, I'm going to have to take it. He then calls the guy. At the Tomato Hotel, the guy is in a room with a creature holding the book while smiling, saying, "That girl got all excited. She's even calling me daddy." This substitute grants any wish. It's incredible. Wishmaster, I want to completely possess the body and mind of Fang Mingxiu. The entity responds, "Master, your wish will be granted." The chubby guy celebrates, "This creature is amazing and Fang Mingxiu is so hot I can't lose her. I've already sent her a message. Hey Fang Mingxiu, you there? I'm at Tomato Hotel, room 414. I want to talk to you face to face. Come here now and wear black stockings." The girl responds that she's on her way immediately. The damn otaku thinks this Wishmaster is awesome. As long as I use this right, I'll rule the whole world. At that moment, Lin calls him and says, "Hello, Liu Ming. What's up, man? I awaken an S-rank talent that lets me create a substitute. You for talking face to face." He responds, "So you awaken an S-rank talent too? I'm at Tomato Hotel. Come over. Can you make it here? Room 414. Lin says yes, and that he's on his way. But he's already thinking the guy is an idiot. Now I just need to figure out the secret of his talent and maybe use my Wishmaster to do something. 5 minutes later, Lin has already arrived. He opens the door, greets him, and asks, "Tell me, Lin Lu, what's the secret of your S-rank ability? I'm waiting for someone else to arrive." Lin says he'll tell him. The secret of my substitute is... Suddenly, the Emperor is already behind him and bam. He punches the chubby guy in the mouth, sending him flying, crashing into the wall, completely wrecked. Your S-rank talent, Plunderer, has been activated. Please choose one of the 4 options: talents, abilities, attributes, or soul power. Lin thinks, normal people like him don't have many attributes, and if they enter a dungeon or change professions, they don't have many abilities either. Soul power might increase my talents, but an S-rank isn't enough for me anymore. So the best option is to steal his talent. You have successfully plundered the target's talent and obtained the S-rank wish book. Effect at level 5, you can choose one of 3 wishes. First battle wish increases your critical chance by 20% and doubles the experience you gain from killing monsters. Second wish, Steel Wall, increases your dodge chance by 20% and every 10 minutes, it can negate any attack. Third wish, Good Luck, increases your luck by 10x. After switching between wish forms, there's a 5-minute cooldown. At that moment, Lin says, "The wish book is indeed something great. Come forth, my substitute." Wishmaster S-rank, not very strong, but very intelligent and with a good range of movement. With the book in hand, he says, "My great master, this Wishmaster obeys you. Wish Book grants any wish of the user, but the cost depends on the difficulty of the wish to be fulfilled. The protagonist, watching the monster talking, is impressed. The monster says that it can talk because it's a functional substitute. I wasn't made for combat, but to make use of the book in my hands. As you might imagine, the greater the wish, the higher the cost. If you wish for something too big, you might fall into a permanent collapse. Since my intelligence is higher than other creatures, I can even help you formulate plans. Lin then asks, what's the most intelligent way to use you then? The master responds, I'd say the simplest way would be to seek information as it doesn't consume much energy. At that moment, Lin understands instead of asking for a treasure, it's easier to ask where there's a treasure for him to take. And if the wish involves another person, it will depend on their mental strength. Lin asks, if I ask you to release my brother Shendong from prison, how much energy would you have to spend? The master explains, that wish would consume all my energy and I'd be inactive for a while. Not to mention it's such a complex process that at most, I might expedite his release but not be able to free him completely. The protagonist starts thinking, damn, these wishes have to be very logical and I can't just ask for anything. It seems like the best option now is to ask for information on other S-ranks. The Emperor disposes of the body, and at that moment, Lin notices a watch on him. He then asks, Wishmaster, what do you know about my substitutes? Could their appearance be related to the person's abilities? The Wishmaster responds that yes, abilities and appearance are influenced by the essence of the user. The protagonist keeps thinking, the Black Emperor doesn't have any time-related abilities. Could it be connected to my regression? Well, never mind, I won't be able to figure that out right now. With enough power, solving any mystery in this world won't be hard. After these questions, the Wish talent is on cooldown, so I'll go explore some realms. As he climbs the stairs, look who shows up, the high-density girl that the chubby guy called. Now let's see, is Lin going to humiliate or forgive the poor girl? Suddenly, the girl snaps out of the Wish's influence and thinks to herself, my god, why did I send such stupid messages to that disgusting fat guy? I need to get out of here right now. Nothing happened, my friends. At the reception, Lin extends the room's stay so no one finds the body and then leaves. The plot then shifts to a guy named Yu Taiji talking with the goddess of time, who's saying, Master, during our time-traveling journey, some unknown entity stole my abilities, and that's what caused the return to this moment. Confused, he says, I can't believe it, even after everything I did, this happened. I, Yu Taiji, unleash an SS F-Rank ability, time-space travel, right at the beginning of the Awakening era. With this power, I faced even gods, traveling the world alone. But I encountered the Guardian of Waidchua, a formidable opponent from the clan of logical beings. His attack did something strange. It reduced my 4,000 time reserve to 40. But barely, I saved myself and returned to the past. I wanted to return to a week before the Awakening, but it's already today and someone stole my goddess's talent. What the hell is this? The goddess informs, Master, I sense this secondary power is in the possession of someone in the city of Hangzhou. The guy looks and asks, are you sure? And how did your power end up with someone else? The angel responds, unfortunately, it seems the creature forcibly stole it from me. Are you going to try to retrieve it? The master looks and says, if he can steal powers, it suggests he's extremely powerful. You're not suited for combat and are still weakened. It's not worth trying to rush things and confront him now. Aren't you sure he's not part of the illogical clan? The goddess says not to worry. She's sure her power is with a human. Taiji then says, for now, let's hunt in some dungeons. Meanwhile, we'll form a team, and once we have enough strength, we'll settle the score with that criminal. In front of a gate, the guard gives a message. You should enter this place with great caution. It's important to form a team of 5 before starting the exploration. Caution is essential, be careful. The guys, however, respond, so what if it's a dungeon, it's just a magic hold, man? We're going to go in, wreck everything, and post it on TikTok because we're insane. Another one comments, man, I heard that after entering, we'll get a class change. Dude, this sounds a lot like a game I used to play. Hey, why don't you go in and take a look? But the friend responds, why don't you go in and take a look? Everyone knows the best strategy is to wait for others to go first and see what happens. Until they notice. Wait, is someone going in? Looks like it's the first brave one to enter. The guy comments, man, the young ones are really brave. Wait, but aren't you supposed to enter in a team of 5? Why is he going alone? Lin going in alone thinks, in my last life, I ran away from this place, but today it will be beneath my feet. Your body is being digitized and a backup is being created. All damage you take inside the secret realm will be restored when you manage to exit the instance. On your first 2 deaths, you will be resurrected and sent out of the realm. But on the 3rd time you won't return. Please choose one of the 6 basic classes: Mage, Archer, Warrior, Shield Bearer, Assassin, or Priest. In my past life, I chose Warrior. It was a pretty average class, but now, with 2 S-rank talents, I need to make a choice that suits what I want to do. Wishmaster, do you have any recommendations for my class? He responds, Master, I recommend you choose the Mage class. After you reach rank 20, I can help you obtain the secret class, Prophet Mage, and the Black Emperor will cover the biggest weakness of a mage, which is close combat. Lin is impressed as ranked talents can even provide secret professions, but I feel like the Wishmaster has some strange motive. If I choose Mage and then Plunderer on my second advancement, what profession will I get? The Mage responds, I don't recommend you become a Plunderer. That would create something weird, like a close combat mage. Lin thinks, as much as the Wishmaster's advice is important, I have to remember that Plunderer is my innate talent, and for now, the Black Emperor is my main focus. The problem is that his agility is at its limit, which makes fast professions a better choice like Assassin. Wishmaster, if I choose to become an Assassin and then a Plunderer on the second change, what will my profession be? The Master responds, you'll become a Rogue Outlaw. With this, you'll maximize the advantages of the Plunderer, but I still recommend you become a Prophet Mage. It's a profession that has a much more elegant and relaxed vibe. Lin just ignores this. I choose Assassin. Sorry, Lord of Wishes, but this is the best choice. You've changed to the Assassin class and your attribute panels are being generated. The two most important attributes for an Assassin, agility and attack speed, have increased, along with movement speed, which is also above average. He receives 5 Assassin skills: Backstab, Quick Reflexes, Sudden Strike, Phantom Blow, and along with that, an Apprentice Dagger with +6 attack. With this, I'll make the most of the Black Emperor. Please select the number of players to enter the dungeon exploration. The limit is 5. Of course, he chooses 1. The current power of the Black Emperor is that of a level 20 or 30 boss. These low-level dungeons won't be a challenge. Besides, the fewer people who enter, the better the reward. The Goblin Lair dungeon ranges from easy to nightmare difficulty. Please choose. Obviously, the protagonist goes for nightmare level. System warning, this is only recommended for level 10. Are you sure you want to enter at level 1? He confirms immediately. Entering the dungeon, it's filled with jacked goblins. There aren't even walls, apparently, it's just a straight-up brawl. Red-Eyed Goblins, level 5, the protagonist already reaches forward, activating Battle Wish and Black Emperor. Go, Emperor, destroy them. The Emperor lands a critical hit on the Red-Eyed Goblin, and the big guy unleashes a barrage of punches, with blows flying left and right, plowing through everything, just farming Goblinland. You killed 15 goblins, and for being 4 levels below, you received an additional 500 experience. Thanks to Battle Wish, your experience was doubled. You have reached level 6. The Emperor could only activate his strength-stealing ability 7 times because these creatures are too weak. Now let me take a look at my attribute points. You can allocate your attribute and skill points freely. Would you like to allocate them now? Assassin weapons can be enhanced with poison, and after the second awakening, I can convert agility into strength. Maybe the best choice is to allocate everything to speed. And the same goes for my skills. I'll allocate everything to speed-related skills. Increase agility by 16 points, strength by 4 points, and skill points into those related to speed as well. For now, I'll only put skill points into Swift Strike. It's the one that will reduce my stamina consumption the most. In my past life, people started realizing that some of the instances were kilometers and kilometers in size, so many would get exhausted even before the fights began. As a result, professions with low stamina became undesirable. The money dropping from monsters, I don't need to worry about that. If you kill a boss, everything that's dropped will appear in the chest. With this, the Black Emperor continues punching and beating down enemies. Level 6 wolves, level 8 ice goblins, they're getting stronger, but I'm already at level 7, so dealing with these minions isn't a problem. Next up is the dungeon boss, who apparently ate a lot and won't be getting up from that chair. The goblins have kidnapped some girls. Obviously they're in the mood like Goblin Slayer, episode 1. Just tearing at their clothes, these guys should be arrested. Call the cops on this dungeon. The protagonist looks on, a large goblin, a shaman, and a fire goblin. Their numbers are increasing, but they're still no match for the Black Emperor. Lin then says, even though they're just NPC humans, it still pisses me off to see this scene. With that, he orders the Black Emperor to attack and the punches keep flying. The guy is seriously overpowered, but soon there will be creatures even he won't be able to handle. The shaman goblins start summoning skeletons. The protagonist charges forward with the Black Emperor covering him with his speed and agility, already face to face with the monsters. As he reaches them quickly, the Emperor is right behind, landing a perfect hit. Only one is left, and he commands it to come at him. Come at the Black Emperor, that is, you sly dog. The Emperor throws another punch, and the goblin's blood sprays out like ketchup. The creature falls to the ground, and Lin even says it was too weak. But good goblin is a dead goblin. You've killed a total of 83 goblins, including the wolfskin goblin, the large goblin, the shaman, and all the others. A total of 9,700 experience points, and with that, you've advanced to level 9. The creatures begin to disintegrate, the coins gather, and congratulations for clearing the dungeon. The treasure chest is being generated. The protagonist activates the Wishmaster's effect, asking to increase his luck by 10x. Since he entered alone and was at a lower level, the chest generated is SS rank. As always, things like no deaths, clearing the dungeon quickly, the number of people, and your level influence the quality of the chest. Based on your evaluation score, the rewards vary significantly. Originally, in these low-level dungeons, the best you could receive, even on nightmare difficulty, was a black steel chest. Chests can range in quality from bronze to immortal, and within each chest, there's a subcategory from normal to epic. With the Blessing of Wishes, I managed to get gold chest. Now that's a good start. Open the chest. He receives 10 healing potions, some mana potions, some stamina restoration potions, an epic helmet, a regular wolf fur jacket, a frosty beginner's scepter, and a goblin's longsword. Additionally, he gets a special fireball skill, but it can only be equipped by magic class users, 150 copper coins, 15 gold, and 7 silver coins. He comments that silver quality items are still pretty mediocre. Moreover, he finds a normal class guardian armor that can be used by any class and an epic short sword that can only be used by assassins. Using the Wishmaster's effect is indeed very powerful. Even for a high-level chest, it's rare to receive 2 golden items. Let me take a look at the short sword's attributes. Besides ignoring part of the enemy's defense, it has a bleeding effect that continuously deals 5 damage over 10 seconds. Considering this is the start of the game, this is a very rare artifact, much better than the beginner's weapon, and it even has a bleeding effect. He also checks out the light armor, which has an additional 10% dodge chance, and then he equips everything. With that, the system creates a backup of the character. Choose a name to be displayed in secret realms and dungeons. Black Emperor. He used the name of the creature itself. Global announcement. Congratulations to the player Black Emperor for becoming the first to clear a nightmare-level dungeon. You have received 10 lottery tickets. Outside, the supporting characters are all in shock, saying, "Damn, he even got a global announcement." Black Emperor. How did he already clear a nightmare dungeon? The girl is already wondering if he's good-looking too. The guy with the Goddess of Time is just watching this. Damn it, how did this guy already get something like that? In my past life, this announcement happened much later. The guy asks the goddess, "Are you sure the timeline hasn't changed?" She responds, "Yes, master. When you go back in time, the person returns to their body, but without memories unless they are the bearer of the power." There are 2 possibilities. Either this is a really weird coincidence, or this Black Emperor stole your power in the future and came back to clear this dungeon. But my power doesn't increase physical strength, so how is he clearing the dungeon alone? He replies, "That's something I don't know either, but either way, we need to find him as soon as possible. If his growth speed surpasses ours, he could become a problem." The protagonist is already holding the Genshin Impact-like wish system in his hand. In my past life, after 3 years of hard work, I could only use it 5 times and got a Diluc on the Wheel of Fate. At that moment, he immediately summons the Wishmaster and says he needs to ask something. The spirit responds, "I delight in serving you, my great master." Lin explains, "I want you to help me analyze the best time to use these wishes." The Wishmaster congratulates him on obtaining the tickets, saying that he can receive items ranging from SSS to F-Rank. Many of these items can only be obtained from the Wheel of Fate. Items that can extend your lifespan, create a copy of your own talent, enhance your talent levels, increase your energy, and magical crystals are all very rare. Of course, the probabilities vary greatly, and an SSS item has a 0.01% chance. So even with your luck increased by 10 times, you might not get any S-rank items. The protagonist asks what happens if he uses a wish for luck to guarantee that he receives an SS item. The Wishmaster responds, "To give you an SS item, I would need to sleep for 6 months, and then you would receive an SSS item after 6 days. An SS item would cost 190 energy, and an S item would cost only 10 energy. Lin thinks putting the creature to sleep for 6 months would be a huge disadvantage. I need him to identify people's abilities and find out whose talents I can steal. For now, an S-rank item is the best option." He asks about getting 2 S-rank items, but the Wishmaster says that won't work. That would require 110 energy. Lin responds, "Alright then, increase my chances of getting an S-rank item or higher." The Wishmaster instantly responds, "Your wish has been granted." And with that, the ticket is activated. A bright light explodes and a clock appears spinning rapidly. At the right moment, the protagonist stops it and the 10 items are rolled. Various crystals of ranks D, C, E, and F appear, but among them, a rare S rank extreme crystal. These crystals increase energy and strength for a short period, which is quite good. The only SS item I got was this crystal. Lin breaks 2 crystals, which allows him to inherit an additional 3% plus 1% of the value of this instance. He throws 2 crystals to the Black Emperor, who crushes them. With this enhancement, the creature's range has increased by 6 meters. There are still Ascension crystals and Rage crystals, not to mention that the longevity pills can be taken outside. I still have these 2 here. Who should I give them to? The Wishmaster is practically drooling. "Great master, I suggest you give them to me. That way, you won't have to worry as much about energy." Lin agrees and hands them over. With that, the Wishmaster's energy recovery has doubled. Unfortunately, I can only extract 4% of the values from this place. Without a spatial crystal equipped on my body, I can't take anything with me, but that's okay. I've already strengthened myself quite a bit, 1 step at a time. With that, he leaves the place, and outside, everyone is commenting. "Damn, it's really hard, man. I've already lost a few resurrection chances. I shouldn't have entered." Hearing this, Lin thinks, "For now, no one really knows what to do. I need to take advantage of this to develop quickly enough to stay far ahead of everyone else. Now I need to go to the Sky Tower dungeon and claim the first clear achievement. The level in that place is infinite. In front of a blue pillar, people are discussing forming a team. Anyone have a little sister to form a team? Anyone here need an archer? One of the guys next to the protagonist says, I heard the person who got the farthest reached level 8 man. Lin stands before the Ascension Tower, the Sky Tower, knowing that in this place, every time someone advances 10 levels for the first time, they receive a ticket. I need to speed up. Then, the greatest danger in a man's life calls out to Lin. Hey there, handsome, want to form a group? The protagonist, all Sigma, just keeps walking, thinking, why would I form a team? This chick would only slow down my progress. He's already inside, just ignoring her. He thinks, even with these weak creatures, you still get 4 experience points at level 1. This tower is very beginner-friendly. Now come on, Black Emperor. It's time to work. The Emperor arrives with a barrage of punches. Even Lin joins in, and within 20 seconds, they've cleared the first level. And because it was the fastest clear, his name will be recorded. On the second floor, there are some dogs, some jacked wolves. Once again, the Black Emperor handles it. A notification window pops up for the players saying he cleared the second level in 30 seconds, the third in 40 seconds, and the fourth level in 52 seconds. Outside, people are baffled, saying, this Emperor is too fast, but no way he's doing this alone. Who is this guy? Meanwhile, the protagonist is already at the door of the 10th level. Attention, upon entering the 10th level, you can only exit after clearing the area or dying. I remember in my last life, the first person to clear level 10 was Leo Xiping, but now that I'm here, I'm going to claim the level 10 and level 20 achievements. Facing the level 10 kobold boss, the creature charges at him with a sword, but Lin manages to dodge just in time. Taking a direct hit from this enraged beast wouldn't be a good experience. Lin thinks as he calls in the Black Emperor to face the creature head-on. The Emperor punches the kobold in the chest, sending it crashing into the wall, but the boss's aura activates, and for the first time, the Emperor is pushed back as well. It's not as easy anymore, Lin realizes. The kobold boss, wielding 2 swords, leaps at him again, slashing through the air. The Emperor barely dodges, appearing behind the boss midair and lands a blow square in the middle of the kobold's head, dropping it instantly. Congratulations to the player Black Emperor for being the first person in the world to clear the 10th floor of the Ascension Tower. Lin receives more tickets as the outside world erupts in disbelief. No way, it's the Black Emperor again. Who is this guy? Meanwhile, scientists analyzing mysterious rocks are concerned. It seems clearing dungeons is triggering some mechanism here. The inscriptions indicate a rat-level disaster will occur on the blue planet. One scientist, stylishly adjusting her glasses, turns to the others. Wait, this is going to happen on the blue planet? Are the dungeon creatures going to invade the world? She continues, a disaster is approaching and difficult times are upon us. We all need to be prepared for the worst. This guy conquering all the dungeons, Black Emperor, isn't it? Can we find him? Meanwhile, the protagonist is busy with his Geisha system, hoping for something good. Finally, he pulls an S-rank item, his space crystal. Now I can bring items into reality. The real crystal can be used directly, and the attributes transferred to Earth reach 7%. When I break these crystals inside the dungeon, part of my dungeon's stats will carry over to reality. Lin thinks as he gives the Black Emperor another defense crystal and a strength crystal, leaving him with 2 lottery tickets and 275 fragments. He decides it's best to accumulate more fragments before trading them for useful items. But before going to the next level, it's better to sell these equipment items first, since the earlier, the more expensive. The currency of this world and the real world can be exchanged. High-quality equipment is extremely valuable, Lin reasons. He lists the equipment, weapons, and special items in the shop, and within seconds, everything is sold. Startled, Lin realizes, whoa, it sold instantly. It was worth 5 million in cash. I underestimated the buying power of these wealthy players. Well, it's nothing too crazy either. Farming these low-level items is easy. He plans to climb the tower to level 20 and get the second class change, which will take all night. After exiting, he'll be able to obtain another S-rank talent. The 3 most notorious guilds during the chaotic times were the Smiling Coffin, the Great Tomb of Nazareth, and the Octopus Society. All these guilds have extremely powerful members with rare talents. After I deal with these individuals, I'll head straight to the City of Sinners, the perfect place to steal as many talents as possible from bad people. Everyone in that place doesn't deserve forgiveness even after 1,000 deaths. He reflects on the past. The people who killed me and my brother didn't seem to have any S-rank talents. They were probably freelancers hired by some guild. Once I settle the most important matters, I'll seek vengeance for the past. The scene shifts to a guy on a computer who seems to be a scammer, trying to lure people searching for good jobs to China. He says, they might have improved the system, but I know what to do. Just set up a fake company, get some people working for a while, and then announce we have plenty of job openings. Another fat sheep has taken the bait. The boss will love this one. Back to Lin, who is now entering the 11th floor of the Ascension Tower, where he's facing skeletons that, to be honest, are the scrawniest skeletons that I have ever seen. Lin stands amidst the skeletal ruins of the tower, thinking, damn, this place is nostalgic. I remember spending so much time here with my brother, killing skeletons to complete the full skeletal set, but there's no time for sentimentality now. Emperador, attack them all. Don't leave a single one standing. Give them a JoJo-style beatdown. The Black Emperor charges, delivering a flurry of punches to the skeletons, reducing them to dust. Fast forward to level 17, where Lin encounters the skeleton commander. The commander thinks he has a chance because Lin is only level 13, but he's swiftly taken out by a perfect assassination strike from behind. With 3 years of combat experience from my previous life, these lower floors posed no threat, Lin muses. Within 8 minutes, he's standing on the 20th floor, face-to-face with the skeleton Lord Tedemir, a formidable foe with 2 abilities. Shadow Summon, which brings forth a legion of skeletons when he draws his sword, and a crushing sword strike. Tedemir raises his massive sword, summoning over 200 skeletons. This floor is way tougher than the previous 19, Lin notes. The skeleton army charges, but the Black Emperor meets them head-on with a powerful punch. Now surrounded, Lin realizes this is the quickest way, but it's risky. You know what? Come to me, Wishmaster. I want the Black Emperor to deal critical damage until the skeleton Lord Tedemir is defeated. The Wishmaster appears with his book, Great Master, your wish has been granted. Even Lin is surprised, can I really make a wish like this? The Black Emperor is now surrounded by a critical aura, confusing even the boss. Lin commands, go for it, Emperor. The Emperor closes in on Tedemir, who suddenly disappears in a cloud of smoke. Where did my Emperor go? Lin wonders. But then from the shadows, the Black Emperor emerges, landing a direct hit on Tedemir's helmet. Each attack deals over 500 damage, rapidly draining Tedemir's health. With 100% critical hit rate, the boss is defeated in record time. Destroyed and in pieces, that's the fate of a demon. You have successfully defeated the skeleton Lord Tedemir. You gain 700 experience for killing a higher level creature, plus 200 bonus experience for the battle wish. You have cleared the 20th floor of the Ascension Tower. The Black Emperor continues to pummel the skeleton's remains until Lin tells him to calm down. Another global announcement. Congratulations to the player Black Emperor for being the first to clear the 20th floor. People outside are shocked. Is he going to advance even further? But how? You must be exhausted after advancing so far alone. Lin knows that floors 21 to 29 are a labyrinth. I just need to follow the shortest path stored in my memory to reach the 30th floor boss as quickly as possible. Soon, Lin stands at the entrance of the level 30 boss room, his level much lower than recommended. The system advises your level is too low. It's recommended you return another time. But Lin laughs, this system is amusing, giving me suggestions, and enters. The boss is the Minotaur King, towering over Lin with his massive hammer. Level 15. Foolish human, do you know what you're about to face? Lin responds, your palace is actually a giant trap, isn't it? The Minotaur, confused, shrugs it off, whatever. Black Emperor, go now. The Minotaur swings his golden hammer and the Black Emperor barely dodges the earth-shattering blow. Lin thinks based on my past life's experience, it's unwise to rush from floor 21 to 29 through the labyrinth. The monsters you avoid might be summoned by the king. The Black Emperor strikes from above, but the Minotaur tries to catch him, narrowly missing as the Emperor slips away. Lightning crackles as the Minotaur smashes the ground, setting off a chain reaction. In my past life, countless players lost to these traps, but I know the right plan, Lin says. He calls the Wishmaster again, asking for critical hits for the Black Emperor. The Emperor lands a perfect blow to the Minotaur's eye, then another to its mouth, delivering a barrage of punches that drains the boss's health rapidly. The Minotaur roars, my horde of warriors, I command you to come and protect your king. Lin grins, so he's finally started. It's our time now. The Black Emperor activates his special ability, which gives him a chance to steal one of the boss's abilities with each strike. He begins stealing. Ground Explosion, Life Drain, Fury Dance, Attack points, the king's command skill, and 30 agility points. The poor Minotaur is left completely disoriented. Although the stolen skills don't come with full power, they're still potent. The thrill of stealing really is something else, Lin admits. Congratulations, you have reached level 18, even stealing EXP from the boss. At that moment, the door behind them opens and a group arrives. The creatures from the other levels have finally shown up just in time. Warriors, listen to my command, retreat. These fools came at the wrong time. Let's test the power of these new abilities and see if they're worth anything. Hammers fall to the ground, kneel, and they all obey. The scene shifts to the dungeon of the Mushroom Kingdom. Kneel before me. This is the Mushroom King. The guy with the Goddess of Time appears, saying, congratulations, truly worthy of an SS ability. The Emperor's vision. I've been hearing your name for a long time, Ru-Terang. Ru-Terang responds, who are you and why aren't you afraid of my Emperor's vision? My name is Yu Taiji, a person who exists outside the limitations of time, and I can make you stronger. The guy asks, what do you mean by outside of time, and why did you come to find me? Yu Taiji takes his hand as if to kiss it and says, because I need your help. You are the only person who can make monsters kneel. Little does he know the protagonist has already done the same. Meanwhile, the Black Emperor is moving forward, beating down the monsters that are all kneeling. They don't even resist, they're just getting beaten up. Wow, this raised a lot of dust. The protagonist moves on to levels 19, 20, and 22, and in 16 minutes and 29 seconds, he finishes the 30th floor of the Ascension Tower. Once again, this is announced to everyone. Outside, they have no idea that the Black Emperor is walking right past them, all cool and composed. Next time, I'll make my class change. Now sitting in a restaurant eating a big bowl of ramen, Lin thinks, I'm sure the class change will be harder than the warriors. Not to mention my past experiences won't help me in this case. At the next table, a guy slaps a girl in the face and says, you useless healer, always messing up our team. Lin just thinks, oh boy, these colleagues of yours, girl. But he overhears their conversation. Hey, do you know Lin Lu's brother? That guy's a criminal who's in prison. My table's right next to Lin Lu's. Is he going to steal my stuff? Better be careful. Turns out, they're all from the protagonist's old company. These guys were all cronies of the supervisor, always trying to ruin my reputation. The girl, with tears in her eyes, begs for forgiveness. Please, I didn't do anything. But the guy kicks her and says, what good are your apologies? It's your fault that Xiaoji died. She's being beaten up, and the protagonist just watches, calmly eating his ramen. So it's true that one is missing, Lin thinks. Xiaoji really is dead. They sit down at the table. Hey boss, bring us 3 bowls of ramen and some of your best dishes from the menu. Also bring this girl here. The guy kicks her in the forehead and adds, get up and stop pretending to be dead. She tries to get up, almost passing out. She says, when the supervisor was alive, they weren't like this. But the guy runs his hand through her hair and says, you're talking about the supervisor? But he's not here anymore, darling. The protagonist, observing from the side, thinks, the supervisor will live in your hearts because I've already taken his life. The bald guy grabs her and says, in the past, you were the supervisor's lackey, and now you'll be ours. Lin continues, calmly eating his ramen. I remember they had a close relationship. It seems the world's changes have also changed them. At the table, the bald guy asks, Captain, now that Xiaoji is dead, our team is short on members. What are we going to do? The guy with the red tie says, you're right, man, we need to recruit new members quickly, and we need to get past the 2nd floor of the Ascension Tower. Meanwhile, the poor girl is on the floor, healing the guy's feet and giving him a massage, until one of the side characters spots the protagonist and says, look who's here. Long time no see, Lin. The girl on the floor recognizes the name too. The guy approaches and says, hey old friend, where did you end up after getting fired? I've missed you so much, brother. He points to the food. Look at this good food. You can have it. Life's tough for you, isn't it? Let me ask you, Lin Lu, did you awaken any talent? I can help you make a lot of money. What do you say? Lin, glancing to the side, remembers that this situation also happened in his past life. In my previous life, I was in jail for 10 days, and as soon as I got out, this guy came to talk to me. Back then, Lin was naive and said, my talent is called Plunderer, but it's only rank F. I told him, sharing the details of my ability. The guy, still talking, sneered, man, that Lin Lu really was raised by a criminal. Even his talent involves stealing, for crying out loud, and it's rank F2. Evil should suffer. He and his brother seem like they haven't learned their lessons. They're facing the rightful retribution. The protagonist thinks, he made that offer to me, but all he really wanted was to laugh in my face. Lin stands up and says, goodbye. I have no interest in joining you. Confused, the guy asks, you don't want to join us? How are you going to play in the tower alone? Kid, stop dreaming. You think you're going to become the next Black Emperor. Little does he know. But then here she comes, that damned girl. Lin knows in his past life she always messed with him. The girl pleads, Brother Lu, please save me. Suddenly, she's on her knees begging. Lin asks, what do you want me to do? She grabs his hand and says something cryptic. Mount Everest is big and round. But he only replies, you must be mistaking me for someone else. I can't help you. In the background, the thugs are approaching, angry. One of them yanks her by the hair, saying, oh, you filthy wench trying to seduce him, huh? You think Lin Lu has the ability to save you? You think he has a high-level talent? I doubt he has anything better than I do. The bald one adds, these guys and their brother were just a couple of beggars. What kind of talent could they possibly awaken? If I had known the Wen family would favor criminals, I would have gone and stolen something too. But then the guy says something he shouldn't have. Maybe I'll also develop a romantic interest in Wen Wuxi. Now he said something that the protagonist didn't like because Lin looked at him and warned, I advise you not to say that. But the side character is relentless and retorts, say what? You and your brother have always lived off others and are just a couple of petty criminals. You're deluded if you think you deserve anything more in life. Our boy is almost ready to summon the Black Emperor, but he relaxes just in time. One of them says this kid doesn't know that times have changed. Let's show him what the law of the jungle means. Perfect, I brought some stuff from the dungeon that I've been wanting to test on him. These fists that we enhanced in the dungeons are lethal. He moves to punch the protagonist and says, if you don't want to die, kneel and call me daddy. As his hand swings towards Lin's face, it looks like Lin is about to get hit, but he's the one who lands the punch. He stops both of them easily and says, I've lived by the law of the jungle far more than you two have. The girl is already falling in love. When she was trying to seduce him, the artist was more excited. Now she's all beaten up again. The boss thinks, two useless idiots. How did you not defeat him? He pulls out a blade, saying that Lin must be looking to die. He charges, but Lin dodges and lands a solid hit on the guy's jaw, putting him to sleep. He delivers another kick. Lin is incredibly calm in this fight. He knees another guy in the chest, sending him crashing into the wall. The guys are all beaten up, and Lin thinks, this bunch of weaklings. It's almost humiliating to have to fight them. The bald guy is confused. How is Lin Lu this strong? What level of talent did he awaken? Maybe at least S rank. What do you think about joining him? It seems like a good idea. Brother Lu, do you need more members? We're willing to throw our dignity away and do all the dirty work for you. Lin replies, I already said I don't want to form a team, but you just don't believe me, do you? But there's a suspicious-looking guy watching everything from above. Brother Lu, please forgive us, man. We were blind and ignorant. Please forgive us. The guy upstairs, calmly sipping his tea, says, I didn't expect to find someone this strong in a place like this. He turns to the people next to him. Put someone smart to keep an eye on this kid. The lackeys nod in agreement. This is Bai Hongli, one of the 8 masters of the Beiki Society Hall. Someone who awakened an S-rank talent. The guys on the ground are all desperate, kneeling before Lin, who's walking away. The girl on the floor is sprawled out, saying, that kind of man is the strong guy I want. Lin is leaving, but she headbutts him right in the butt. This seduction technique is new to me, he thinks as she says, Brother Lu, forgive me. When I disrespected you at the company, it was because the supervisors ordered me to. I had no choice. You're not mad at me, are you? But Lin, ever the Sigma, simply says, let go of me. The poor girl pleads, no, Brother Lu, please take me with you. I'll repay you with whatever you want, as many times as you want. But he just pushes her away and says, learn to respect yourself first, woman. He walked away, leaving her there thinking, how could he do this to me? I was the flower of the company, and I wanted to work with him. The guys behind her start mocking her. Oh, me, you think you can seduce anyone? In Brother Lu's heart, there's already Wen Yuxi. You don't stand a chance. She glares at them, furious. What you mean? I'm way better than Wen Yuxi. But they just respond, you're not even good enough to carry Wen Yuxi's shoes. She's not happy and activates her aura. But then the guys activate theirs too and say, Lin Lu's already gone, you know. You better watch what you say. Meanwhile, the guys who got beaten up are struggling to stand, stumbling around. Damn it, Lin Lu wrecked me. Meanwhile, the guys who got beaten up are struggling to stand, stumbling around. Damn it, Lin Lu wrecked me. Seeing that they're all messed up, Xiaomei sees her chance for revenge. She slaps one of them across the face. This is for the way you treated me. The guy tries to retaliate, but she slaps him again. You want to fight back? You want to die. Up above, the psychopath watching says, damn, she hits hard. I like it. One of the lackeys suggests, let's recruit her for the guild boss. She could beat you up all the time. He considers it, maybe that's a good idea. We could use more women in our guild, and make sure to gather information on that guy who just left. It'll be easier to manipulate and blackmail him if we know some of his weaknesses. Alright, boss, I'm on it. The girl, having just beaten up the 2 guys, declares, I'm going to put you under my feet too, Lin Lu. Suddenly, a man with glasses approaches and says, excuse me, miss, have you heard of our Beiki Society? She asks if that's the famous guild. He responds, yes, our guild is interested in promising players. Would you like to join? All excited, she agrees, thinking, Lin Lu, just wait and see what I'm going to do to you now that I'm in a big guild. She signs her name and he says, from now on, we're family. So tell us, Miss Kim, who was that guy who left, and what's your relationship with him? He seemed pretty rude. She puts on an Oscar-worthy performance, saying he was a friend from work, but he deceived her feelings and betrayed her. The man asks, does this guy have any weaknesses? Something that could help you in your revenge? She thinks for a moment and says, I know his weakness. It's a woman named Wen Yuxi. Meanwhile, Lin is casually walking through the city, but he's being watched by a peculiar guy. On the phone, the guy receives some news. Did you hear? Our boss hired a girl. He really knows what the brothers need. The protagonist, who's no fool, has already noticed he's being followed. Why is this guy following me, and what's his background? The guy on the phone hears something else. They reveal the weakness of this guy. It's a woman named Wen Yuxi. Looks like our boss is planning to control Lin Lu by kidnapping this woman. After you determine Lin Lu's next move, we'll investigate this girl. Lin, who was walking ahead, suddenly pulls a Michael Jackson move, spins around, and comes face to face with the guy, thinking, I want to see who's bold enough to follow me. As he passes by, our boy thinks, I've seen this guy somewhere before. I don't remember his face. The guy, completely lost, bumps into the Black Emperor and immediately takes a punch to the mouth, smashing into the wall. Lin asks, now tell me who sent you. The guy, all messed up, says, brother, you've got the wrong guy. But Lin responds, just passing by. You've been following me since I left the ramen shop. Lin grabs the guy by the ear and realizes, so he's from the Beiki Society. But something's off. The Beiki Society shouldn't have appeared this early. He pulls the guy's face close and says, I'll give you one last chance to tell me why you were following me. But the guy insists, I already told you, man. I was just passing by. You've got the wrong person. Lin stares at the guy, thinking the assassins from the Beiki Society have always been known for never revealing secrets. It looks like interrogation is going to be a waste of time. With that in mind, Lin calls out, "Wishmaster, appear and do your job." The Wishmaster materializes and asks, "What are your orders, Master?" Lin responds, "I wish for him to reveal the purpose of following me." "Master, your wish has been granted," the Wishmaster says. The guy immediately starts spilling everything. "My name is Sun Lang, an assassin working for Bai Hong Lai. We captured a beautiful woman from that shop." Lin is confused. "Captured Xiao Mai?" The guy confirms, "Yes, she provided some details about you. The master of the hall ordered me to investigate you and then to investigate a woman named Wen." Lin still can't grasp why the Beiki Society would capture Xiao Mai. The guy continues, "Wen Yuxi is your weakness. The master said he would use her to threaten you and turn you into one of his subordinates." Lin feels a cold sweat and thinks, "Xiao Mei, you wretch. How could you do this to me? In my past life, during the 3rd year of the disaster, Hong Lai killed Wen's sister. To avenge her, I didn't hesitate to take every risk. Unfortunately, Hong Lai was killed by monsters, and I never got my revenge. But it seems that in this life, I'll have to kill him myself." Lin then commands the Black Emperor, "Get rid of this fool's body. Throw him in the trash." He then asks, "Wishmaster, if I ask you to make it so that no one from the Beiki Society can harm Wen, how long can you protect her?" The Wishmaster responds, "Unfortunately, with my current power, only 24 hours. Lin, now determined, says, "That's enough time. I'll make sure to kill Hong Lai without any issues. First, I need to complete my class advancement. 24 hours will be sufficient. Wishmaster, protect her for 24 hours. "Certainly, Master. Your wish will be granted." With that settled, Lin declares, "Now it's time for me to head to the 2nd level of the Secret Realm." At the Secret Realm's Assassin Alliance, the area for advancement is still quite deserted. He was wondering what he would find inside and hoped that everything would go well. As soon as he crossed the portal, he was surprised. A white-haired guy welcomed him and asked if he was interested in learning high-level secrets. His name was Desmond Miles, and he was the assassin's instructor. Our boy got excited because it seemed like he would be a simple NPC, the kind you would only have to do a few missions for. But the guy immediately sent him to the Snowy Peak to kill 30 creatures and a boss. The creature was called Penguin King, and our boy said he was on his way. He hadn't been with Desmond for even 5 seconds and was already buried in the snow when suddenly something stepped on his back. He turned to see what it was and found a level 20 black snowman on his back. Our boy was impressed that it had been a stealth attack, but he immediately called for the Black Emperor, who easily blocked the attack. He knew that for the assassin quest, he would need at least 30 items from these creatures, so he ordered the Emperor to finish it off, who struck it in the neck, knocking the monster to the ground. It was much easier than he thought, and thus he received the first item. He told the Emperor that this was exactly what they came for, and then went to retrieve the creature's horn. However, at that moment, the two were surrounded by a multitude of creatures, and some of them seemed to be transforming into a yeti. Then the boy began to draw his sword and said that the real fight was about to begin. The Emperor charged forward, and our boy warned him to pay attention to the attack because these creatures have intelligence. Both creatures dropped the item he needed to complete his quest. Suddenly, they found themselves face to face with one that was about to crush them, but the Emperor easily cut it down. At the same moment, our boy sliced off the other arm. With that, the poor monster had nothing left to do. Our boy told the Emperor to toss it up. It turned into an Olympic event, and he gave it a good kick, tearing the monster apart. A multitude of creatures approached, but he shook the ground to disorient them all. He turned around and told the Emperor to finish them all off. With the creatures stopped, he unleashed a JoJo-style sequence, and then it was just punches, smashing heads. More items were being obtained. Another sequence from the duo, more items being obtained, and so it continued for quite some time. The system already showed 37, but he only needed 30. What he found strange was that these creatures seemed endless and kept appearing, and from the throne, the Penguin King said he would tire the two out before their fight. He calmly sipped his drink. Then he ordered the spirits to return. Something suddenly appeared in front of the protagonist, but he didn't let it slip and tried to grab it in midair. However, it slipped out of his hand and continued in a certain direction. Above the Penguin King, a spirit bomb formed, and he ordered the soldiers to be reborn. The crystals returned toward the protagonist. They hit the ground and created a cooling effect. From it, the black snowman emerged. However, our boy already noticed that something was coming from a certain direction. Now it was clear why he wasn't able to finish this. At that moment, he ran past the creatures and told the Emperor to follow him, and the two ran in the direction from which the crystals had come. Our boy was like a princess on the monster's shoulder, and the penguin was ordering the creatures to catch up with the two. But our boy already asked the Emperor to throw him to the top of the mountain, and immediately he obeyed. In midair, our boy drew his buff dagger. "My son, this boss seems easy," because he went straight to the main base, and immediately obtained the Penguin King's item that he needed. With that, the other creatures disappeared, and he realized it was the end. The next scene showed him back with Desmond, saying he had brought all the items he asked for. The guy said he could choose between 3 ordinary assassin classes: the Rogue, the Windrunner, and the Dark Apostle. However, he could try to obtain secret classes. Our boy says it's obvious he would because that's what he's here for. Desmond warns that if he chooses this option, there's a chance he might die. However, the excited protagonist says he's willing to take any risk. The guy laughs and says he likes that impulsiveness in him. Our boy knows that in his past life, several people managed to get the secret class, so it shouldn't be that difficult. But the guy says it's too late now, and there's no way out of it. He's going to send the boy to the void region where the test will begin, and he tells him to feel free to choose. At that moment, the protagonist wakes up in the middle of nowhere. He seems unable to notice anything around him. It's as if he's in an endless void, which makes sense with the name. However, it's not so empty after all because the fool stumbles. And with that, a laser appears in front of him. In fact, several lasers appear around him in various regions. He approaches a red laser to see what happens. That laser grants the class of Fugitive, and he remembers that this is the one recommended by the Lord of Desires. However, he's curious about the other two. The blue one is the Shadowless class, and he saw that it seemed stronger, with better specializations than the other. He imagined that the color of the pillar signified the quality and rarity of it. This means that the golden one surely had the best. He went there and made contact. With that, the Swordstorm Master profession was revealed as a legendary profession. It had much higher stats and better skills. Not to mention, he hadn't even heard of anyone getting something that powerful in his past life. If he could get a class like that, dealing with that society wouldn't be so difficult. The question that remains is why the Lord of Desires was hiding this from him. He orders him to leave, and Keith presents himself immediately. He asks why the Lord was lying, feeling a bit embarrassed and angry that the boy is so smart. However, embarrassed, he says he would never have the courage to lie to the boy. It's just that, in his judgment, the outlaw class was the safest choice. The protagonist asks what he means by that. The Lord of Desires then shows him the compatibility and success rate he has with that profession. Our boy really thinks that 1% compatibility is very low. The Lord then showed the same stats, but for the Shadowless class. He then wanted to know what was so special about the Fugitive class that made him so confident. There the rate was 98 with 89 compatibility. Our boy says it seems like he's right, and the Lord thanks him. However, he then says that he doesn't feel like choosing the safest option. He had to choose the class with the best return. Confused, the Lord wanted to know why he would do something like that. However, he just grabs the Lord's shoulder and says that from now on, he will help him make choices and never make a decision. As he heads towards the pillar, the Lord of Desires says he understands. He then asks if it's possible to have 100% compatibility after learning the class. The Master says it is possible, but it will be much more difficult than with the others. Moreover, if he fails, he will become extremely weakened or in the worst cases die. Our boy responds that he's prepared for that. Not to mention that being weak for 20 days is the same as dying, since everyone will become stronger than him. With that, he slaps the Lord's face and warns that he's good at calculating probability, but forgot that he himself exists. And at that moment, he makes a wish. He wishes for the profession change to Swordstorm Master to be successful. The Lord of Desires says that the wish is his command. He casts a blessing on him, saying that now the wish will come true, and the chance for class transfer increases to 100%. Our boy feels enveloped in a golden aura. With that, the class change is initiated. Outside, Desmond can see that he chose that class, which is crazy because he's seen SSS rank people fail at it. In meditation, he thought that if he really wanted to obtain this, he would have to understand the true essence between the storm and death. After a while, he opens his eyes. Someone says he should be loyal to the wind, and also loyal to the sword, but above all, loyal to the heart. He would have to be the person who is always on the verge of death, but still never fears it. He should carry the sword as if it were his own heart and listen to the sound of the wind, because if fast enough, the sword and the wind are the same thing. In the Blade Storm class, the more times you cut, the fiercer the cuts become. And only those who face obstacles head-on can grow stronger. It is the only assassin class that never flees from combat. Outside, the Lord of Desires tells him to return soon. He was running out of energy and was about to fall back asleep. As soon as he finishes saying this, he begins to disappear. However, our protagonist says that now it all depends on himself. He starts to feel dizzy and tired, and his body falls onto the platform. Outside, his body also seems to collapse. It seems that Desmond doesn't care about him, leaving the boy face down on the ground. He stays there, collapsed, unable to do anything. And Desmond says that indeed, this is the price of arrogance. The rankings show that several people are finally reaching their first and second ascensions. Desmond laughs, saying that if the boy had been less arrogant, that title would have been his. Meanwhile, the protagonist tries to get up. The guy asks if he's still alive, and our boy says that indeed he is still number one. Desmond, startled, questions whether he really thinks he managed to pass the legendary test. At that moment, he takes a stamina recovery potion, and the guy finds it strange that he has something that good. He asks if he really passed the test depending on potions. Our boy just gives a little smile. However, Desmond keeps insisting, telling him to answer already. Our boy just asks if he doesn't feel a bit warm, and the cigarette he dropped on the floor now starts to burn the carpet. While he tries to put it out with his foot, Lin calmly walks out, thinking that there's no time to be chatting with this guy. He has to kidnap by Hong Li as soon as possible. Outside, it's already night. The class changed to 5 hours, and he has to kill this guy and at most 19 more. At that moment, he clicked to see the 4 messages he had received. It was for Xiaomei thanking him for everything he had done and saying she wanted to invite him for a warm dinner. However, he knew that this sneaky girl would never be that honest, so it must be something arranged by the Baki Society. But since he's really eager to take down these guys, maybe this is the perfect chance. Actually, Xiaomei is using the secret horse technique to recruit some guys to kill our boy. Then she receives 3 messages. Lord Tang stands up, but she says she has one more secret move and tells him to sit back down. However, he's more interested in the message Lin Lu sent about a place where he wants to meet her. Tang says she can show him those moves later and tells her to get up quickly. This girl was so motivated that she was furious she wouldn't be able to show off her techniques. In front of that table from the very beginning, it said that the rat disaster would start in 24 hours. The old man warned the blonde guy to notify all the countries that a disaster might be approaching. Meanwhile, in another region, Lin Lu was observing the moon. He received the news and knew it was exactly like this in his past life. However, he then noticed that this time was happening 5 days earlier than usual. He knows that in this first disaster, the monsters will be between levels 1 and 20. Additionally, there will be several insect-type creatures that will give 4 times more experience points. Of course, for the non-awakened, the world will become a catastrophe. Back then, he couldn't help those he loved and in fact only made things worse. But this time, he will finally be able to protect them. When he was younger, he always lived in confusion, and his sister taught him many things. Even though he and his brother had stolen things from her family, after they understood what had happened, they forgave them. She always teased him for being so small, and he knew that in the most important moments of his life, she was there to congratulate him, like when he graduated from college. In all the important moments, his sister was there for him. But when she needed him the most to protect her, he wasn't there for her. So this time, he will take revenge on Bai Hongli. A car approaches on the road. Inside are the movement expert and Lord Tang. At that moment, he receives a message. He calls the guy Kagao's, but it seems to be Bai Hongli, and he says what he wants. Xiaomei is impressed that even the guy she likes so much seems to be afraid of this person. He informs him that the test will begin next month, and he says it's fine. The guy says they awaken an SS as ranked person, and everyone's goal is to gather crystals for this guy. He just agrees while thinking that this damn Miyamoto Musashi is stealing everything that should have been his. Princess Yoshiko was supposed to be his, along with the entire future of the Baki Society. Before that day comes, he will need multiple crystals, and people like Lin Lu need to become his miners. He tells the girl she has to do everything to bring Lin Lu to work for them. She says not to worry, that she knows exactly what tricks to use. Of course, he says he knows those tricks of hers very well. When our girl was lying on the beach, she approached, confident that if she could take down Lord Tang, she could take down Lin Lu. With that, she came running and shouting for Brother Lu. She screamed that she had arrived and threw herself at him, but he just stepped aside, and she fell flat on her face. She turned around and said that fall hurt a lot, but at that moment he ignored her and asked where Bai Hongli was. She knew that was the name of the guy Tang was talking to and got confused. With that, she made a dumbfounded face, wanting to know what he was talking about. However, he approached and said it was the Lord of the Baki Society. She said she was indeed in the society, but she didn't know this guy. Lin Lu then turned and said that if that was the case, he had nothing to do with her. She said she still didn't know, but he could join the society and find out who he was. That way, he could get resources, money, and everything he needed. At that moment, Tang receives a call and answers, asking what she wants. It's Lin Lu who says that actually he already killed the girl. A startled Tang asks if it's that Lin Lu guy, who immediately tells him to come over since he knows he's nearby. He throws the phone into the water, and she realizes that the boy knows the whole plan. Tang starts clapping, saying it's amazing that he already knows. And he says that Lin can join them and they will do great things in this place. Lin asks if these so-called great things are the plan to restore this country so they can dominate everything. Startled, Tang asks how they already knows about this, but Lin ignores him and says that they all deserve death. At that moment, he summons the Black Emperor, who unleashes a barrage of punches while the guy tries to defend himself. He tells Princess Kaguya to retreat because she won't be able to withstand it. The monster, who apparently has airbag protection, says she understands. The Black Emperor merely lands a blow, but she leans back, dodging it. He launches another attack, but she blocks it with an umbrella. Lin Lu is impressed that she can actually hold off the Emperor. At that moment, he says she may be strong, but he just needs to take down Tang. The guy laughs, saying that if he can't kill her, it's impossible for him to die. At that moment, Lu realizes that he won't be able to hide his strength if he wants to kill this guy. While Tang is worried because his princess has already lost a lot of energy. This had to be a quick fight for both sides. He orders the princess to switch to blade technique and finish it faster. However, our boy simply made a wish that the next attack would be impossible for Tang to dodge. With that, the princess attacked, but the emperor dodged. Tang sees the strike coming at his face and wonders how he'll dodge it. He orders Kaguya to attack the protagonist as well, thinking that whoever is faster will win. With that, they pass each other. But the emperor's attack lands squarely on Tang's face, throwing the fool to the ground, completely battered. The princess leaps towards Lin Lu. Tang smiles, saying he'll be sliced by the blade. However, as soon as the sword touches him, he turns into smoke. Lin Lu says that he has potential, but this is the end for him in this world. At that moment, the Emperor already has another punch ready, and with that, he is smashed into the ground. Lin Lu feels that he has finally avenged his sister in this life, and now was time to steal the guy's talent. As always, he could choose one of 3 traits. Considering the guy had good talents, maybe this was the best option. And with that, he stole the S-Rank talent, Rainy Night. In any weather, the umbrella would defend against detection. Fighting at night would create a small rainy area that would increase the princess's attack power. The princess he received was named Hiyu and had a movement area of 20 meters. And immediately, she called our boy Master. He was impressed that she had a perfect balance between attack and defense. Not to mention that while she had 30 intelligence, the Emperor only had 1. He greeted her, and she said that the cold storage was ready. With that, something began to emerge from Tang's body. When he killed someone, there was a small chance of getting some items, and he wondered if it would be something good. What he received were 2 chances to spin the roulette with 10 items. However, unfortunately, the Lord of Desires had disappeared due to overuse. She asked if they were going to a secret realm, but he said there was something more important for now. Someone was calling the number anxiously, but it wasn't answering. The girl found it strange that a certain brother Ham wasn't responding. The maid called for Princess Keiko and informed her that Lord Musashi had arrived. Keiko knew she had been sold to this guy to get protection for her country. All she wanted was for him not to have returned. The time she spent with Hong was the happiest moment of her life. She knows that if this guy were around, he would be able to help her escape. But the number she's calling isn't answering at all, and she wonders where he is at that moment. In front of a mansion, Lin says that Bei Hongli's death will cause a mess. However, he knows that right now the Serpent Society must be investigating some assassination. Ryu says that Yusu should be safe, and then asks if the girl he's so worried about is his girlfriend. He says not yet, but she wants to know if it looks like it will happen in the future. And she says it seems he cares a lot about this girl to have come so late. He says yes, she really is very important, and he remembers her and her brother holding hands with him. In this life, he will protect everyone as much as possible to avoid any regrets in the future. And with that, he tells the princess that they need to go. She asks where, and he says they are going to the sanctuary forest to level up as quickly as possible. The scene changes to him in front of the crystal, saying he wants to enter. The guy says that only level 30 people can, and our protagonist says he knows very well. The guy then says he'll have to show his information. He just shows the Black Emperor card, and the guy on the right recognizes him as the person who dominated the announcements. He asks if he can go in that case, and the guy says yes. However, the chubby guy, seeing that he's with a girl, tells him not to try showing off just because he has a hottie by his side. Our boy ignores him, and he thinks the kid is going to screw up trying to show off for the princess. What the guy doesn't know is that, actually, she's the one killing everything inside. Again, the girl's name changed to Princess Kaguya, and now will stay that way forever. She is easily cutting down all the creatures in the dungeon. Our boy is taking the opportunity to level her up as quickly as possible, while he and the Black Emperor are resting in a corner. Shortly after, she says that all the creatures in that area have been eliminated. Lin stands up, saying that this is perfect. He explains that in this place there is an elven field, and their mission is to protect the elves from incoming attacks. They will need to collect several spirit stones from the sacred tree. Kaguya asks if they will receive items from the elves, and he says yes. However, he knows of another strategy where you can get a large amount of fragments. With that, he says they will have to wait a bit. She asks for what, and he says they will wait for the moment to monopolize all the resources. Inside, the elves are being attacked. The walls had already been breached, and they were giving orders to flee. It was at that moment that our boy approached with Kaguya. Near a cave, a bunch of slimes was approaching. They stacked on top of each other and created a creature called the Leader of the 8 Uglies. That thing gave a ton of experience and was level 35. He invaded the elven base, sending the creatures to attack. However, at that very moment, a slash passed through. Lin Lu had arrived and said they were there to profit. Obviously, the monster wasn't happy and said he was asking for death. But he just went to the tree and started stealing the crystals. And he delivered their energy to the Lord of Desires, who appeared saying it was something very abundant. With that, he asked for the Black Emperor's attacks to deal critical hits until that monster was dead. The Lord activated it, saying that the wish was his command. The boss charged forward, but the Emperor also went in, unleashing the JoJo. However, Lin ordered Kaguya to defend the Black Emperor so he could be free. With that, she attacked with the umbrella, which went towards the boss's hand and created a shield. There were some creatures there, but they seemed like level 1 monsters. They threw some spores, but our boy's summons easily dodged them. With that, both went after the boss and quickly started to overpower him. A little while later, after being beaten, he let out a roar upward, and a strange energy began to accumulate on his head. Lin warned that this was a self-destruct attack and told Kaguya to save the 2 of them. The monster from afar launched a green barrage, and Kaguya stood in front of the Black Emperor to defend him. After a while, the smoke cleared. She was dissipating from expending energy, but the Emperor had survived. Lin was impressed that both of his creatures were almost destroyed. Then she activated another crystal, telling his creature to take advantage of the boss's weakened state. The Emperor was immediately re-energized and unleashed a sequence of attacks on the boss. With that, the poor thing was shattered on the ground, and man, the creature gained 9 million experience points. Our boy got excited since he was about to receive the third sub-ability, and a golden energy began to envelop his body. However, on the ground were the remains of the slime, which suddenly attacked our boy. But of course he was confident, right? You know this reference, don't you? Who was the first to unleash this attack in anime history? Lu just smiled as he extended his hand, and with that, the monsters were all pierced. Our boy smiled because now his combat power was no longer inferior to the Black Emperor's, except that he could only use it once and was already out of mana. However, he knows that mages have 2 mana recovery spells that would be great, but for now, he will only use this in critical moments. With that, he approached the tree to collect the remaining crystals. At that moment, a golden energy was released, and they all flew towards the boy. He was impressed that gathering all of them together was enough for 5 SS crystals. But of course, this is an advantage because he was the first to enter this place. For the rest of the people, it won't be like that. But now it's time to start spinning the roulette. And immediately, the Lord of Desires says it's fine. But he advises that it would be good if he made a wish along with the roulettes. Our boy replies that he understood and activates the Roulette of Fate. With that, a shower of pay-to-win items comes his way. He receives an S of cooldown stone that reduces the time needed to use another spell. Now he can finally steal 2 talents in the same day. In addition, he received a crystal that increases intelligence by 10 points. At that moment, the Lord of Desires appears, saying he should give it to the person who deserves it most. While the Black Emperor has 1, the Lord is asking with 180. So our boy asks what the intelligence attribute is for. The Lord explains that it doesn't necessarily make a person smarter, but rather makes them faster at solving problems. Basically, the more intelligence, the quicker a person can learn and gain experience. Lin thinks that maybe that's why the Black Emperor is no longer able to defeat everyone as easily as before. Apparently, he is the one who needs this crystal the most. With that, he gives it to the Emperor, who immediately absorbs it and even becomes slimmer. He then thanks him and says that thanks to this gift, he will defeat all enemies. Lin Lu says that from now on, he will make his own choices in combat. With that, he gives 2 crystals to the Lord of Desires to increase his energy limit. He thanks him and says he will try to help him locate the next S-rank talent. The scene shifts to another building. A boy is thrown into a trash can. The blue-haired guy says that now that he's awakened an A-rank talent, they won't mess with him anymore. However, the boy doesn't seem to care much about that and activates some fire hands. He jumps towards them, asking if they really think they can escape without paying the price. But a tentacle wraps around his wrist, and the blue-haired guy warns that he's not the only one who has unlocked a great talent. Man, when I see tentacles, I already get scared. You know that soon some poor girl is going to suffer. But for now, it's this fool who's trapped. Lin Lu received this information, and now the next target is marked. The blue-haired guy slaps him and says he seems to be going a little crazy. It's ridiculous for him to think that his A-rank talent would defeat the boss's S-rank one. And he pulls his legs, saying that today he will be absorbed by the green mist. When someone appears, saying it's too late, asking what they are doing. It's a teacher, and I already think she's going to be attacked by a cruel blow. The trap boy calls out for Miss Chen. The friends are scared, but the blue-haired guy says there's nothing to worry about. And the most obvious thing happens, right folks? She is attacked. For now, she's just being overpowered and immobilized. Nothing more. But the crazy one starts approaching, saying he knows what she deserves. This has been hinted at for a long time, and you all know what happens. However, at that moment, the tentacle is cut. The teacher falls to the ground. And when the guy turns to ask who did it, someone is already behind him. With that, his 2 friends start bleeding. He uses the tentacles to defend himself and demands that whoever is doing this show themselves. Lin Lu just smiles and says he's just passing through. The guy says there shouldn't be any S-rank awakened at the school, so who are they? Lin ignores him and snaps his fingers, wishing to the Lord of Desires that he wouldn't be hurt for the next 30 seconds. The guy is confused and asks what the hell he's doing, but Lin just wants to know if those will be his last words. Tired of it, the blue-haired guy jumps, saying he'll kill him now. However, Lin summons the Black Emperor and says he's free. The guy is shocked, asking how many summons he has. And there goes the Emperor, activating the JoJo. But unfortunately, he is also immobilized by the tentacles. And the guy says this is perfect since he'll devour all of them. However, our boy activates Princess Kaguya, who once again cuts through everything. The guy falls to the ground, saying it was the boy next to him who was harming him. But then he screams, saying it doesn't make sense. Lin ignores him and says he already knows everything, so he can stop that pathetic act. He turns to the teacher, who he just messed with, asking for help. But before she can say anything, Kaguya has already struck him in the back. With that, he kisses the asphalt. And Lin simply says that the price for doing evil is to pay with your own life. Already stealing the guy's talent. Something goes into his hand, and he wonders what it is. At that moment, the boy who was trapped thanks him and asks the protagonist's name. He replies that he is the Black Emperor. With that, he calls his summons and says they are going home to eat. The guy gets all excited, saying he wants to be like him one day. Our boy is then in a restaurant. The talent he received is called Perfect Fusion, but he has no idea what it does exactly. He decides to summon the Emerald Mage, and begins to feel as if he has 12 arms and can control them all. The system says it's very good at defending against brute force attacks, but terrible at defending against cuts. Even though it's not very offensive, it's a great talent for defense. He stretches out his arm, saying everything is settled and the people can come out to eat some fried chicken. The summons immediately thank him, saying that's their favorite food. He starts typing on his phone and says now it's just a matter of waiting. With that, the woman asks if he really ordered more than 300 chickens and 200 burgers. He says yes, and she informs him that unfortunately, they don't have enough ingredients. It's then that he remembers that when the cities are destroyed, food will start to run out. But at that moment, Kaguya tells him to look because there's a strange fog outside. He knows that this is probably the signal that the disaster is about to begin. Soon the creatures will be free in the city, killing everyone. At that moment, a woman enters the restaurant asking for help, but an insect already grabs her by the shirt. She and her child are pulled by a spider. She tries to persist, pleading for help, and then Lin Lu steps in front of her to protect her. But in front of him, there are already a bunch of insects. Lin makes a wish for all the fog around him to be dispelled. With that, an energy wave clears the way. Our boy starts to prepare, and with a simple slash, the first spider is killed. The disaster gives 400% more experience, and his bonus adds another 200%. He knows this won't give him any equipment, but the experience is very good. Not to mention there are tons of monsters. He calls out to his 2 summons, saying it's time to level up. With that, the 2 appear, and the hunt begins. The problem is that the number of monsters is almost infinite. Elsewhere, a white-haired guy says this is a bit intimidating, but the one in the suit replies that for awakened ones like them, this is actually a great opportunity. They agree, saying that 4 times the experience is too good. However, they already know that this event was supposed to happen 5 days later in another timeline. The one in front comments that since the Black Emperor reached the 2nd stage so quickly, the Calamity also arrived earlier. But none of that matters since they are the strongest team in this place. With one of the abilities they have, they'll quickly reach level 20 and advance to the next stage. And with that, they move forward to see who will evolve the most. Lin and his group have already killed so many creatures that they are hesitating to approach them. With that, he tells Kaguya and the Emperor to stay on guard there. He goes to the restaurant and the staff has finished the orders he made. He begins storing everything in his space and tells the people to wait for rescue. The woman wants to go with him, but Lin warns that being with him is the most dangerous place since he's heading into the thick of it. However, they don't need to worry because someone will definitely come to save them. But suddenly, he feels something strange. Something ominous that makes him wonder if he forgot some detail. A change in the course of history due to his rebirth. That's when he thinks that this disaster happening earlier might represent a new risk for his sister. Elsewhere, a praying mantis creature attacks a woman. An old man who was at the meeting approaches with his summon, which happens to be another old man, who creates a giant ball of light and crushes the insect. This old man doesn't miss a chance and immediately goes to save the woman, asking how she'll reward him. But at that moment, a laser passes by, and they tell the old man to keep his eyes off what isn't his. The guy in front says he saved her. The old man tells him to stop complaining because that woman is his now. These guys are psychos, and the guy behind says he wants to keep the insect's remains. He approaches, touches the body, and says that the Majesty commands him to resurrect. Apparently, this guy is the Walmart version of some Jin Woo, as he has the talent of the Dark Monarch. Meanwhile, our boy is running through the city, cutting down everything. He runs right alongside those guys who seem to be observing him. They find it strange that a guy is alone, killing all the creatures and leveling up so quickly. Lin is fleeing through the city while heading towards his sister because in the previous disaster, she was supposed to have survived. He knocks on the door, hoping she's okay. Then someone inside asks if something has come back. When the woman opens the door, she sees that it's the protagonist. He asks where her uncle and his sister are and why they aren't home. She says they are working a bit late and she doesn't understand what's happening. At that moment, Lin is sure something must have gone wrong. He tells the mother not to worry, he'll go look for her, and she says that's fine. No offense, but this mother doesn't seem very worried. Meanwhile, our boy is running through the city, knowing that if his sister encounters an insect, she'll die, praying to whoever is up there that she's safe. In the middle of his run, the Black Emperor warned that someone was nearby. That woman from before was cut down. Our boy said that she was beyond saving, and that it was better to keep looking for his sister. At that moment, he summoned the Lord of Desires and asked him to locate her. With that, the Lord created a minimap indicating her position. Elsewhere, several dragonflies were flying through the streets. His sister was with a friend and another guy beside them, saying that the inspectors would save everyone. However, at the same time, he was going crazy, saying that no one would get out alive and no one would come to save them. Until suddenly, he seemed to be enveloped in a purple aura. It attacked the 2 girls in an instant. Man, I thought it was a spell, but it's just that he turned into a psychopath, saying they had to enjoy the end of the world. But the girls told him that even if he were the last man in the world, they wouldn't do anything with him. But of course the guy grabbed the protagonist's sister, telling her not to resist. Her friend tried to intervene, telling him to get off her, but the madman threw her to the ground. He turned to the protagonist's sister and said they would die without any regrets. Desperate, she told him to get off her, but he just slapped her face and told her to be quiet, and warned that if she resisted again, she would die. But suddenly, someone broke through the window. The guy was about to turn to ask what it was. But before that could happen, he was already hit in the face. In the next moment, someone had already approached. Obviously, it was our boy apologizing for being so late. The guy in the back said they should enjoy themselves before everyone dies to the insects. But Lin just ignored him and activated the Black Emperor, who immediately struck the fool in the face. He was immobilized, and Lin asked what he thought he was going to do to his sister. The guy tried to call for help from someone, while Lin said that if he just answered, he'd let him go. But of course the guy couldn't answer. Apparently the Emperor was merciful and threw him to the ground. At that moment, the guy crawled to Lin's legs and started begging not to be killed. But our boy just asked why he was still alive, and told him he could choose between dying inside or dying outside. Seeing that dying inside was a guarantee, the guy decided to go out. But obviously, our boy just said he had a wish. The master just accepted. The guy, of course, broke the window before leaving to ensure no one inside survived. But before he could do anything, he was captured, and a swarm of insects descended on him. In an instant, he became bug food, and the wish was fulfilled. Lin turned to his sister and said that now everything was fine. She asked if he really let the guy go, to which he replied, "Of course not. Someone who harms her wouldn't get away alive like that. He only let him go because dying by being devoured by hundreds of insects would be more painful. This girl isn't very well either." She blushed, thanking him, saying it was perfect. Kaguya immediately got involved, asking if they would become a couple now. He said no, that the time hadn't come yet. However, Wen didn't seem to like hearing that. These sisters are dangerous, man. Kaguya asks if he doesn't like her, and gets all flustered. He tries to say yes, and then says actually no, but he ends up stumbling over his words, not knowing what to say. Meanwhile, the one who was thrown to the ground starts waking up. The sister jumps up and hugs her, thanking her for being alive. With that, she gets up, saying she just has a slight headache. But as soon as she sees the protagonist, she says he's a pervert. The sister tells her not to worry because he's actually a friend who saved both of them. Here comes this opportunistic friend, who immediately says this guy is very handsome. However, our boy just ignores it and says they need to get out of there quickly. He goes back to her mother's house and asks her to open the door. She didn't seem too worried before, but now she's happy that her daughter came back alive. Kaguya thanks him, saying she almost died. Inside, the mother asks where the friend is, and they say they took her home. The mother, all excited, thanks Lin Lu, saying he's a hero. At that moment, Wen asks where her father is. The mother says that today the civil servants had to stay at the office. Lu seems to find that confusing. He knows that a large swarm is heading towards that area, and the entire building is made of glass. He then gets up and says he's going to check to make sure he's safe. Wen says it's going to be very dangerous and he should stay there, but he replies that they shouldn't worry. He'll make sure to come back safely. However, when he arrives, the entire place is already destroyed. A strange energy begins to pass through his body. That shouldn't happen, as a disaster of this level shouldn't carry such a strong creature, and he starts to realize that the strange aura is coming from the upper floor. At that moment, he remembers that this is the sensation of a guardian insect. In this invasion, most creatures are supposed to be between levels 1 and 20. However, near where they appear, there are guardians who are much stronger. Only by killing these creatures can the disaster be stopped. He remembers that the authorities gave many resources to those who ended it, and it's a coincidence that he found one right there. He can't tell if it's luck or misfortune since the creature is quite intimidating. If he really wants to deal with it, he'll have to prepare first. Inside the office, a bunch of employees is fleeing from the insects. One of them runs towards a door. He closes it and tells his friend that if the insects get in there, both of them will die. With that, they stack some tables to make a barricade. However, the creature is easily crushing metal. They know their lives are about to end. As soon as the glass shatters, they're sure it's the end. However, some time passes and they wonder why they haven't been killed. They decide to go out and see what happened. Outside is our boy, who obviously came to save his uncle. Meanwhile, that group of 4 perverts is approaching a crystal. They were heading to clean the forest that our boy had already finished a long time ago. They wonder how this damn Black Emperor is always ahead of everyone. The insect guy says that for him to have done this, his summons must be out of energy. However, the other is furious, saying that was essential. Then the old man starts to ponder that maybe the Black Emperor has information from the future like they do. However, the 4 know that the weakness of someone strong is that the summons require a lot of energy to function. He's sure this guy won't be able to clear everything on his own, so sooner or later when they find this guy, they'll take him down. Our boy took his uncle back home, and the mother says he looks like a hero saving everyone. He says they don't need to worry because he awakened an S-rank talent. The uncle is impressed, saying that his D-rank talent already seemed very strong. And the mother says that even her memory improved when she received his C-rank talent. The sister approaches our boy and says she awakened a music talent that can strengthen people. At that moment, the mother asks what exactly the talent he received is. He gets embarrassed, and the sister says maybe it's better if people don't know. The mother apologizes, saying she didn't mean to intrude too much. He says it's okay, and that his talent is called Heaven's Justice, and is something offensive. Immediately, the sister says they would be a perfect duo for dungeon hunting. Then the father says that with this societal change, he has to take advantage of the opportunity. All gleaming, our boy says he'll do his best. Then the father gets up, says it's late, and tells our boy to stay in the guest room. He says no because it would be too inconvenient for the family. But the mother says it would be perfect. In fact, she already wants to show him her room. As they go, the father is impressed that the boy who helped him a long time ago has become his savior. Already in bed alone, feeling a bit sad, our boy says he never expected in this life to be able to save so many people. The problem is that he can't stay there too long because he has a brother who he's wanted to save since the first chapter and is still trapped. But his priority is still to get another S-rank talent. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, a creature rises, and a guy stretches out his hands, calling for the Demon King to appear. At that moment, a black flame forms and a red creature is summoned. The guy who summoned it smiles, saying it's amazing to have something of S rank. The demon says that if he collects fear and despair, he'll become more invincible than anyone. For the love of God, standing next to him is the girl we already know will be consumed. At that moment, he notices her presence. Thankfully, he just approaches and says he'll get some food, asking her to stay there. Or actually, he left her with a monster. I don't know what happened, but she's isolated in a corner of the room. And the scene shifts to the protagonist looking over the city. He immediately asks the Lord of Desires to show the location of a guy named Hu Jimin. As always, the wish is his command. And with that, he already knows where the next target is. In the city, the demon is beating up a bunch of insects and collecting energy. The father is going crazy, saying it's incredible how quickly he's leveling up and that no one will find him in the future. He's going to take revenge on the woman who abandoned him with that child. The demon approaches and says that the fear he's receiving isn't enough. He asks what the creature wants, and it says that human fear is the most delicious. It seems to dominate him with magic and asks if he doesn't want to become stronger than ever. The guy immediately says that this is definitely the best option. The scene shifts to a couple in despair. The summoner asks if that's enough, and the demon says it's exactly this smell of deep fear that he wants to feel. The husband jumps forward, saying he'll end them there, but he immediately gets a hit in the chest, and the demon says that the taste of human fear is truly the best of all. At that moment, the girl's father begins to wonder what exactly he summoned. The demon stretches over the man's body and starts sucking the energy out. The wife tells him to back off, but he says he wants more. Suddenly, the girl's father steps in front and says he was only summoned to help kill creatures, not people. But this summon is rebellious and throws him to the ground, telling him to stop being a hypocrite. The demon says that he'll be responsible for the woman's death. The father says no, he would never do something like that. But the green energy is already approaching as he tries to flee. Obviously, he's dominated by the spell. And at that moment, his expression changes. He grabs a peeler and approaches the woman. She pleads for help and tells him not to do this with the child. But a scream is heard in that place. Nearby, Lin Lu seems to sense something. He finds the guy right in the middle of the act. Unfortunately, the woman had already been killed. And at that moment, Lin Lu's expression changes, and he orders the Emperor to kill that guy. He flies to take out the demon first, but his attack is easily blocked. The monster says he loves the emotions they're feeling. He tries to launch another attack, but this time it's the Emperor who blocks it. The demon jumps towards the protagonist, saying that what he feels is delicious. But Kaguya easily blocks this attack. The sequence of punches keeps coming, and Lin Lu realizes that if it weren't for her, he wouldn't have been able to dodge. He immediately tells the Emperor to deal with it. The Emperor comes up behind the demon, landing a punch to the face. But the creature keeps absorbing fear, saying that he is the Demon King. He raises his arm, saying that everyone there is seeking death. Seeing this, Lin tells Kaguya to help the Emperor, but the demon just roars, sending both of them flying. Obviously, she falls comfortably into our boy's arms. But at the same time, the Demon King is about to finish off the Black Emperor. Our boy finally uses his green creature, which wraps around the demon's arm, preventing him from delivering the punch. The poor demon is shocked, and Kaguya takes the opportunity to stab him. As the demon disintegrates, Lu asks if he thought he was the only one who knew how to fight. But the creature says it won't die like this because it is the fear that resides in all living beings. But the monster disintegrates, and Lin says maybe in the next life. He's confident now, knowing he has a card up his sleeve for defense, the Emperor for attack, and Kaguya for support. At that moment, he hears a scream. Looking to the side, that father is lying on the ground, wondering what he's done. He can't understand why he took a life. But Lin shows no mercy and immediately says that before this guy dies, he wants to hear his last words. The guy bangs on the ground, saying he didn't want to do it and was being controlled by the contract. But Lin tells him that as long as he doesn't die, that creature has a chance to return. The guy agrees and says that killing others should indeed have consequences. All he asks is for the protagonist to tell his daughter that when she's older, her father will return. He'll return in another life because the protagonist struck him in the chest, and he tells him not to worry because he'll take care of his daughter. The guy's emotional. I'd be scared if a stranger said that. But now it's over, right, girl? He fell to the ground, and our boy stole the ability. He knows that this demon's talent is dangerous since it could end up trying to take control of him. But since it's an SS rank, he immediately activates the theft. Just because this guy couldn't tame that monster doesn't mean he can't. And with that, he gains the S talent Emotion Activator. The cooldown is fast, and the activation range is extremely wide. He immediately tells the creature to appear, which once again forms a vortex in the sky. But this time, it turns into an egg. and our boy is confused when the thing appears in his hand. The system window says he has to choose a primary emotion that will be absorbed within a 300 kilometers radius to initiate the birth. Lin already imagines that the monster's ability will be based on the emotion it absorbs. He decides to start sensing the emotions around him. Since the place is full of people fleeing from the insects, fear is the predominant emotion. He continues to sense everything around him, but it's all just agony. Then the emotion sensing time runs out. He realizes that feeling 5 seconds of emotion from the people around him was too much. Apparently, the father had chosen fear because it was the most available emotion around. But by doing so, he created an uncontrollable demon. Even though its power was unmatched, that's what led to his downfall. He decides to wait a bit and asks the Lord of Desires to locate the man's daughter. She's still at the abandoned house, wondering why he hasn't returned, until someone approaches the door saying he's a friend of her father's. I thought it was going to be someone else, but it's our boy who came to the rescue. He takes her to a McDonald's and she asks when her father will return. He says her father went to protect the city and asked him to take care of her. She gets all excited, saying her father is an amazing person. Our boy asks if she's not afraid that he might be lying. She says she has the talent to sense emotions and can tell that he only has good intentions. That catches Lin Lu's attention, and she says she's sure he's a good friend of her father's. He leaves thinking he'll find a family for her later. My boy, I think you're not taking very good care of her, are you? But it's okay. He's the protagonist. He has to save the world. Right now, he needs to control his own destiny first. He needs to protect this city and destroy anyone who opposes him. The scene shifts to the Lingyan Temple. The group of disturbed individuals is arriving there, and it looks like they're after a wormhole. The old man says it's time for them to choose a captain. The Turner guy asks if the old man is trying to be the captain, but he just replies that he already knows everyone's talent except that guy's. The guy ignores him and tells him to focus on figuring out how they're going to defeat the Black Emperor. And for now, it's better for everyone if they avoid internal conflicts as much as possible. The old man says he's probably overestimating this Black Emperor since he didn't hear about him in the past life. He warns that all of them there are SS rank, so the Emperor won't stand a chance. But the guy just turns around and warns that the Emperor stole his abilities, so he needs them to take him down. Obviously, the old man is already thinking that if he hands over the abilities to this guy, he might lose his position. The guy ignores this and tells the blue-haired one to take a look around. With that, he activates an eagle eye to survey the entire area. He says he found a mantis 1 kilometer away. The old man complains, asking where the high-level guardians are. The guy explains that since this calamity happened earlier, the monster also changed location, and nearby, Lin Lu is approaching, a giant level 34 creature. Lin is impressed that this monster has 10 times more health. However, the positive side is that it has so many attributes that it will be perfect to steal with a talent, and he immediately orders his summons to attack. They leap towards the monster, which lets out a roar. But as soon as the Emperor approaches, something strange happens. The system warns that since that creature is from another dimension, the Emperor's ability is invalid. Lin thinks that this is already cheating, and the monster suddenly lets out a roar to the skies. He hears a strange sound and looks behind him. All the creatures in the city were drawn to that place. Lin knows that even though they are low level, if he gets surrounded, there's no escape. But as always, they are also rich in experience. With that, he knows that those can be dealt with by Kaguya and the Black Emperor. She immediately charges forward and cuts down a bunch of them. The Emperor, as always, uses his JoJo attack. Now our boy gets involved and activates the sword Kai. Meanwhile, a reporter is in a helicopter giving updates. They comment on the situation. It's chaotic, but she's still on the front line, observing everything. Then the guy tells her to take a look because there's something on the monster's back. On top of the creature, they see someone fighting. She says it's impressive that someone is already able to face such a strong creature. And she immediately orders the helicopter to get closer, saying they need to see this. Nearby is our boy and his summons, all together. Unfortunately, the summons are getting weak as his energy is running out. He breaks a crystal and sends them back into battle. They immediately say they understand, and our boy returns to the fight as well. With that, he finally reaches level 24. He gets excited and puts 8 more points into agility. Besides that, he has the abilities of the new class. And now he's ready, saying he's going to finish all of this. The group then starts cutting through everything, and the hunt for the boss finally begins. Lin is the first to attack, activating the sword Kai. He orders the two in front to charge in and take advantage of the opportunity he's creating. He calls the Lord of Desires and says there's an insect about to get within 1 meter of him. He activates the Demon King with a crystal buff, adding 30% more defense. With that, he leaps towards it, and the king easily starts killing the creatures. As Kaguya and the Emperor advance, Lin strangely feels that something is wrong. On the monster's back, something begins to emerge. It seems like it was absorbing and releasing other insects to regenerate its own health. He falls to the ground because he's running out of energy. He makes another wish and the Lord warns him that he's running low on energy. But with that, Lin throws himself at the boss, saying they'll see who can last longer. He spins through the air towards the creature's forehead, and just before making contact, he activates the green demon to kill all the insects around. already activating the ability he just leveled up. And with that, he strikes the creature's shoulder. Manhwa thought he was going to cut the shoulder, but he tore through the monster. With that, the head falls to the ground, and he doesn't hesitate, going for the skull as well. The announcement that he had defeated the boss was made to the server, and the girl in the sky immediately realizes that it was the Black Emperor. Of course, he received a bunch of rewards and even leveled up to 27, including some equipment strengthening items, but he decides to save those for later. He notices that right after the boss's death, the other insects are fleeing. The Emperor says that he was recorded, and our boy says it's okay. He's more concerned with the fact that now he's receiving fewer extremely good rewards from the system. This means it's time to move on and take down the next target. And with that, he orders the Lord of Desires to take him to Ju Wanyan's location. The scene shifts to another place. A girl asks if they weren't supposed to be filming a drama, so why is she having to do this scene? The blonde guy just says that it seems to be her specialty, and he tells his friends to coordinate the performance. Apparently, this guy has the power of a succubus controlling him. Man, what a danger. But our boy is unstoppable, already approaching the place. He knows that Ju Wanyang is a woman, so why is she in this abandoned place? Seeing that the door won't open, he orders the Emperor to break it down. With that, he simply opens the thing easily. Oh boy, it seems like the succubus wants the danger of this place because the poor people are drained. Seeing this strange death, our boy immediately asks to be protected by the Lord of Desires. But suddenly, a strange light approaches them. Our boy becomes a bit dazed, and he falls into Kaguya's arms. Suddenly, a figure approaches, laughing. The Lord tells the Black Emperor to protect the Master. And with that, the two move towards the mist. Meanwhile, our boy is affected by a heart. He finds himself in a strange wedding room, and next to him he notices a photo showing he married dear Wen. But two people seem to call his name. It's Kaguya and Wen. So well, it revealed the boy's desires. Wiping away the drool, he asks why they are there. They tell him not to worry about the details and just relax. Meanwhile, outside, Kaguya is attacking the succubus, who realizes that killing this girl is going to be much harder than she thought. She finds it strange that the summons can follow her considering they are far from the main body. The Lord of Desires can't understand why the protagonist hasn't woken up if he's already made the wish, and Kaguya wants to know why he's still unconscious. The dangerous monster says she's only doing him a favor. The boy is in paradise having a great time. They shouldn't interfere until he's satisfied. Suddenly, the Lord of Desires thanks her for the explanation. He activates the book, saying he knows what to do now. All he asks is for the boss to wake up to reality. In the middle of the dream, Lin tells himself that it seems he's woken up in the middle of the illusion. He grabs Wen and says he knows she would never act like this. Suddenly, the illusion shatters. Kaguya grabs him, saying that he finally woke up from that evil illusion. And the dangerous monster comes angrily, wanting to know why he woke up. That's when Lin discovers it was all her fault. And immediately, the Emperor goes to punch her. While Lin thinks that if this creature created an illusion without him knowing, it might be powerful. At that moment, the Emperor seems to find the person who summoned it. In desperation, she begs not to be killed. But he just points to the people on the ground and asks if she did that. She says she was deceived and brought there to do something evil, clearly already trying to charm the boy, saying she could even become his girlfriend. Our boy immediately calls for Kaguya, and the poor girl takes a hit on the chest. The monster doesn't understand how her S-rank Fatal Temptation talent isn't working. Our boy says that maybe he would have let her live if she hadn't tried that again. The talent he receives increases his charm towards the opposite sex tenfold, and they fall in love instantly. But the stronger the person's will, the longer it takes to activate. He says it's a shame he can only use it on the opposite sex, but he decides to take a look at it. With that, he summons the enchantment fairy who greets the master. He asks why she looks different from before. She wants to know if he's disappointed just because she's a little thinner. She immediately transforms, asking if he likes her a bit more like this. He gets startled and she transforms back, saying he's so cute. The enchanting witch is S-rank and has a movement range of 50 meters. When in her boosted form, her powers increase fivefold. Our boy knows she's not for combat, but as long as someone can be controlled, she'll be useful for something. In the end, the day's haul hadn't been bad at all. This kid is unstoppable, and he already asks for another name to find the location. A blonde guy walks through the city complaining that having to suffer to activate the talent is very difficult. It's extremely risky, and luckily he found a pharmacy or he would have died. When he gets home, he has a little surprise. He immediately asks why the redhead is there. She says she missed him and wanted to see him. He is startled. He says she abandoned him after passing the exam and asks why she came back now. She ignores all his complaints and gives him a kiss on the cheek. A heart appears immediately. The guy wonders if he's really going to be forgiven just like that. She says yes, but that he deserves some punishment. Obviously, all of this is the work of our boy's new summon, and he doesn't show any mercy. He just orders Kaguya to finish it. She prepares to strike with a sleeping man. However, this guy has a stolen talent that blocks it even without seeing anything. Kaguya informs Lin that she can't even remove her hand from him, and he has no idea how this guy is reacting while being trapped in a dream. That's when the guy's ice summon appears, saying they will be exterminated. but our boy has an army and immediately starts summoning everyone. However, this ice creature slaps them all away. As the Emperor goes to punch, the creature summons a barrier and defends itself. But the Emperor is stronger and breaks through in the middle. Idiot's guy tells him to stay quiet and summons some chains that immobilize the Emperor, and one of them heads towards Lin. Luckily, Kaguya appears and reflects the attack. He thanks her, saying that she really always saves him, and with that, he orders the Emperor and the Green Demon to retreat. The monster questions if he's lost the courage to come at him. Lin laughs, saying that's ridiculous. It's just that he's interested in this creature's communication ability. He knows it must be at least S rank, while his are still all S rank for now. But he says that will be resolved with the fusion ability he received. With that, the energy from both starts to leave their bodies. It gathers in the sky, forming a ball of power. Apparently, a strong girl is about to appear, and the kids summon the Black Princess Kaguya. The thing turned into a kind of buffed samurai lowly swordsman. In this huge list, the most important thing is that her attack steals part of the target's attributes or abilities. Lin is impressed since it combined the best attributes of both, and before he can say anything, she already strikes the creature with her sword. The monster defends itself and activates an ice storm. However, the attack seems to cause no damage to Black Kaguya. The ice guy realized that it was now much more difficult than before and activated the eternal freezing coffin. But in a second, the Black Kaguya was already out again and approached, asking if that was all he was capable of. The monster shouted, telling her not to come any closer. He activated another icy storm, but she didn't back down and said it was just a few snowflakes. She then drew a blade that would bring an end to everything. The monster kept using a bunch of abilities, including a protective barrier. At the moment the blade touched his body, he claimed that he was impenetrable, regardless of the attack's speed. However, at that moment, the two of them separated. This removed any and all negative effects they had. Kaguya had now regained her attack speed and easily used the Rainy Knight to finish him off. He agonized for a second, and the next, he turned into a block of ice and disintegrated. She then approached the body, saying that this was the next one. And boy, without mercy, the ketchup flowed. The two of them then went to Lin Lu and said they hadn't even been injured. He praised the two and told them to rest. As always, he chose to steal the talent since he knew it was rank S. However, when absorbing the ice, he realized it might be more than that. He immediately decided to take a look. The talent was actually rank SS. It was a persona of absolute strength that would be summoned when he was in extreme danger. He was left a bit speechless because he wasn't really at much risk lately. Basically, it's had zero utility for him now. He said he was going to ignore the ability and tried to summon the ice guy in the same way. However, obviously, nothing happened. With that, he slumped to the ground and the summons tried to console the boy. But then he stood up and said he had an idea. He asked Kaguya to try slashing his neck. He knew that if he were really in danger, she would be summoned. Kaguya asked if he was sure and said she would do it. At that moment, she prepared for the cut. The blade was about to strike. However, nothing was summoned, and he started to get scared. The Lord of Desire said that was impossible since Kaguya didn't have the real intention of killing him. The crazy guy then turned to the Black Emperor and asked him to give him a painless punch. The guy really wasn't afraid and went to hit him. But suddenly, his hand turned black. Time around them all seemed to have stopped. A strange voice spoke of being brave and courageous, and a mask appeared, telling him to abandon all the anger he carried in his heart. He grabbed the mask and told it to listen to him. And then the savior appeared. The attack was redirected to the Black Emperor. He warned the Emperor that with just one wish, he would send him to hell. However, the Emperor wasn't afraid and said it was worth a try. It was as if he was about to kill himself, and our boy told him to wait a moment. He never gave permission for the two of them to act without his order. With that, the two apologized and he said it was okay. Now he was happy. It was the first more normal summon he had, and it was still extremely strong. Not to mention, this creature had much more information on the screen than the others. Its presence always drains energy points from the protagonist. It has an ability that can fully restore his life and remove negative effects, along with a buff for allies and the power to stop time to save him from an attack. Lin Lu gets super excited since this is ridiculously overpowered. The only thing he wants to understand is what this 23% of the complete form means. At that moment, the succubus says that it means with 23%, he can defeat the Black Emperor. The savior says that's exactly right, and 1% more energy would be a waste. At that moment, the Emperor rushes forward, saying he's being greatly underestimated, and Lin has to tell him to calm down again. He flicks the succubus on the forehead, telling her to stop provoking them. He starts to see that this bunch of summons is becoming a mess. The team was getting big and hard to manage, especially since most of them now had high intelligence and could make their own decisions. With that, our protagonist informs them that if he ever loses consciousness, everyone should obey the Lord of Desires. He gets all happy, asking if he's sure about that, and immediately, all the others agree, except for the savior, who wants to know what's going on. However, our boy just calls for him, and he says he understands. With that, he dissipates into the air, saying that the crisis was already resolved. The Lord of Desires thanks him for the trust, saying he will do his best. Meanwhile, it seems there's a problem starting with the 4 guys who have to go to jail. It appears that in their experience distribution, the old man is getting less, However, the other guy points out that it's his fault since they're getting stronger. The old man laughs and says they aren't subordinates. With that, the time guy just tells them to stop. He informs them that from now on, unless it's to gather time, everyone will work individually. This way, each one explores where they want and the distribution is separate. He assigns each of the dungeons to one of the guys and mentions that 4 of them will be in fair competition. However, even if they meet within the same realm, they cannot attempt to shoot each other. The old man asks what happens if he needs future tips, and the guy says that in that case, he will charge 10% of everything he receives from the place. The group seems thoughtful but appears to agree. With that, the old man withdraws, saying he will farm alone. The other guys also leave, telling him to take care. The time man knows that all these guys have extraordinary talents, but for now, he needs to focus on his own strength. For now, they will return to their old friends, especially since he remembers they were reliable. Our boy's group is walking through the city, and he mentions that soon the government will start to act. He knows of a ruin called the Sensa of the Dead that will be nearby, and it's a good place to recover energy. However, ahead of him is the Tomb of Wailing. He knows this was one of the monopolized dungeons that he never even had a chance to farm in his past life, but now that he's strong, he can enter it alone and resolve it once and for all. With that, he calls everyone to enter the place quickly. A while later, they're walking inside it. The succubus says she's freezing and asks for warmth. He turns to the rest of the group and asks how they're feeling. The other 3 respond that they have no problem with the cold. However, the naughty one says he had already prepared clothes for the lady. Of course, he covered the succubus, but Kaguya was left exposed. The Lord of Desires then mentions that it seems a fight took place there recently. Suddenly, they regroup with Kaguya, who warns that the enemy is close. However, he says this is perfect, and it's time to start evolving. A legion is approaching, and he orders the Black Emperor to go ahead and stop the advance. He just thanks him, saying he's laughing. And our boy says he wants the usual wish. At that moment, something shatters in his hand. The roulette begins to spin, searching for something. The Black Emperor is fighting. Lin commands the roulette to stop. Finally, the SS elevation crystal he's been trying to get appears. The Black Emperor says he doesn't want the usual wish, and when he tries to grab it, it appears. He thanks the Lord of Desires, saying he's been working hard. The poor Lord is happy because lately he hadn't gotten anything good from the roulette. With the elevation crystal, he can evolve the strengthening crystals, but unfortunately, it's still not enough to evolve his talent. So he decides to use all the other crystals he received to evolve the Black Emperor, and he says he feels that his strength is only increasing. The status is then updated, and he goes on to beat all the monsters in the dungeon. Lin Lu takes a moment to think about what the best strategy in this place would be. In this mission, the player has to assist the Second Legion's temple. Along with them, they investigate the Tomb of Heroes. There they end up encountering the magical cult and need to take them down. For this, they receive a reward. He knows it's not too difficult, but the reward isn't very good either. And as always, the best strategy is to take advantage of as much chaos as possible. He then tells Kaguya to move forward and help the Emperor. Meanwhile, they are being watched through an orb. The old man says it's incredible that they escaped the abomination. The woman in the white dress remarks that the boy seems to be controlling all the summons, and that strangely, the destined person has finally appeared. The scene shifts to the Canyon of Forgetfulness. The hero named Reinhardt says that for the honor of the temple, they will advance. The soldiers raise their hands and shout, yes. However, at that moment, he notices something approaching. It's our boy who introduces himself and says he brought information from the fields ahead. Reinhardt seems to realize that our boy is a hero and has the symbol of an epic warrior. With that, he responds that he wants the information and that what he will receive depends on its value. Kaguya steps forward, and Lin Lu says to listen to what she has to say. The guy is surprised when an aura begins to emerge, and in a split second, she slashes at the poor guy. He seems to have barely defended himself and asks who they are. Lin ignores him and says he will be paralyzed in 3 seconds. Reinhardt, on the other hand, seems to find these guys strange, but he really does seem to be suppressed. Before he can react, Kaguya steps forward and says he should listen to what she has to say. An attack hits the middle of his chest. Reinhardt can't understand why his power is so suppressed. He sees a warlock behind the boy and is sure it has something to do with that. He then uses a burst of ki to try to push everyone away. The guys on horseback behind him rush forward, shouting to save the commander. However, they are easily stopped by Lin Lu. At that moment, the guy begins to fight Kaguya. He looks back and says that Lin is a coward for using so many summons. Our boy spreads his arms and says that if that's the case, he should come at him. Reinhardt advances, wondering why he has this strange feeling. However, he has no choice but to kill. This assassin has seen it. But at the exact second the blade is about to kill him, something happens. The savior appears and asks who dared to challenge his majesty. Reinhardt wonders how a single person can have so many contracts. Once again, Lin simply wishes for the guy not to move for the next second. With that, the savior just extends his hands and tells him to explode. Spatial rifts form around Reinhardt. He tries to say something as his body is consumed. In a second, he completely disintegrates in the air. The people watch and wonder if this guy is on their side. The Lich says she's not sure and that he might be someone sent by the witch cult. The guy smiles at this, saying it seems everything has already been arranged by those above. She comments that now that the guy is dead, they can have some fun with the boy. With that, the Templars advance, telling the guys to follow the captain. Meanwhile, Black Kaguya is easily cutting through everyone. In a second, the guys are all down on the ground. For killing the NPC, he receives 900% more experience. He then tells them to hide and wait for the right moment to appear. Suddenly, something begins to emerge from the ground. A strange skeleton appears, saying that he's invited to visit the witch cult. Lin Lu finds this odd and wonders if the guys misunderstood something. He doesn't remember this account, but it's no problem because he'll adapt to whatever is necessary. With that, he tells the skeleton to lead the way. Obviously, he is eager for the rewards he will receive after dealing with this cult. At the entrance of the cave, he meets the Lich. Lin Lu says he doesn't know what's going on. He already knows that if he kills those guys there, the mission will end immediately. However, he's more interested in finding out where the ashes are to complete this mission. The Lich thanks him for his arrival and asks if he brings any instructions. Lin Lu starts to get confused but says that it seems he'll have to use his acting skills. He asks if the people there have already completed the missions assigned by those above. The old man replies that they are almost finished for finding the giant ice dragon. Lin Lu immediately orders that he be taken to see it. The Lich agrees and tells him to follow her. With that, they enter the cult's base. They arrive in front of a room and she says it's right there. Seeing it, Lin Lu is shocked. The skeleton of a giant dragon is there, immobilized by chains. Lin Lu knows that when this creature is alive, it won't be something ordinary players can handle. He then asks the people how long it will take for it to wake up. They say it will take at least another 10 days of ritual. He knows that when it's awakened, it will surely be a boss. And most importantly, the reward won't be small. He then asks where the ashes of the dead are that he needs to recover his energy. The old man says that the ashes are necessary to resurrect the dragon, so they don't have much. Lin Lu then asks if this dragon is more important than him. The old man says no and orders them to bring the ashes. One of his servants brings the box and says that's all that's left. Lin Lu starts absorbing it. The system says that with that item, he will gradually recover 100 health points. He sees that it's very useful, and it's just a shame there's so little. He questions why they don't refine this item. The woman replies that to do so, they would have to delay the dragon's resurrection even more. He orders them not to worry and to focus on the main mission. The people seem confused by the orders he gave. However, Lin Lu just asks if they will go against what he said. Obviously, they lower their heads and say no. The old man then orders them to refine the ashes to deliver to the adventurer. Our boy thinks that's the goal for now, and he'll talk about the rest later. However, the Lich is just observing his movements. She performs a ritual to contact someone who asks why something so sudden is happening. She says she thanks them for the assistance they've been sending to deal with the warriors. The Shadow asks what she's talking about, and she says they sent a person who has already introduced himself to them. She shows an orb with the protagonist and says that he even helped her take down the Templar Knights. The Shadow replies that there's no such person in this cult, but killing an enemy always turns them into an ally. He tells her to invite the boy, and she finds it strange, saying that's very dangerous. He tells her not to disobey and just to hand over the ashes to gain his friendship. Meanwhile, Lin Lu tells the guys not to slack off. He's all excited, seeing how hard the guys are working. Soon, he'll have more energy than he needs. At that moment, the Lich approaches. Lin Lu says that just because she's hot doesn't mean she doesn't have to work. However, she asks why he is there and what his purpose is in infiltrating this place. He replies that he didn't invade anywhere. In fact, they were the ones who invited him. She realizes that the bastard is actually right and it was their mistake. She then introduces herself as the Ice Bride Witch and asks what she should call him. Lin Lu stands up and says he can be called the Black Emperor. She looks confused and seems to recall that name. She then says that if he is also against the Empire, he should join their cause. And of course, if he does, he would receive enough ashes of the dead. Lin Lu wonders what's happening because it seems like the plot of the story has changed in a way he doesn't understand. He then responds that when he receives the ashes he wants, he'll think about joining this so-called witch cult. Of course he gave this answer because he's afraid of visiting these guys' base and having them prepare something to take him down. With that, the Ice Bride asks how many he needs and he replies at least 20. She says that's impossible since he killed the Legion commander, so they're going to send some people to hunt down this place. Lin says that with him there, it's no problem at all and that everyone should start working on it. She says it's not because they doubt his ability, it's just that they can no longer refine this item. Lin begins to realize that this woman isn't a fool and it won't be easy to deceive her. He says that's fine then and he'll go with her to visit this witch cult. However, before she can react, he already attacks her. He says it's a pity, but she'll have to leave first because he needs to prepare. With that, he gains 3.6 million experience points for killing a character. The other cult members call him an assassin. However, our boy just calls Kaguya and the Black Emperor and tells them to finish everyone off. Immediately, the guys start desperately trying to run. Suddenly, Lin Lu is trapped by a green attack. The guy says that now that he's caught in the chain of death, there's no escape. However, the protagonist easily destroys it. The man is then thrown against the wall, hitting his back. The guy asks why his ability seems so ineffective. Suddenly, everyone there feels a strange vibration. The old man declares that he will sacrifice all of his magic and remaining life to reclaim his. He immediately orders him to kill that assassin. Lin Lu didn't expect this old man to sacrifice his life to make this happen. And now the dragon has truly been resurrected, with 90,000 HP and giving 360,000 experience points, along with various stun and movement reduction abilities. However, Lin is excited that the dragon was revived in a rush, and its stats are much lower. He orders Kaguya to take down the summoner while he and the Black Emperor handle this monster. The old man only says not to underestimate him. The dragon launches a barrage of ice in their direction. The Black Emperor ends up having to step in to defend Lin Lu, and he uses a cutting ability to break through the ice formation. He then charges at the dragon, telling it to give up. The attack hits the head directly. The Black Emperor delivers a JoJo-style combo once again. However, none of it seems to affect the dragon, which begins to conjure a spell. But Lin doesn't stop either and launches another series of attacks at the head. The dragon becomes disoriented, and he immediately tells Kaguya not to give it any rest. She then charges at the dragon, landing a solid blow on its belly. Our boy tells everyone to finish off the dragon together now. Each of them attacks the monster's head from different sides, causing it to collapse to the ground. Our boy gains another 6 million experience points and advances to level 28. Lin says that the dragon's life took a while to drop, but in the end, it was well worth it. Now his ability has leveled up and can allocate more points to agility. He needs to keep evolving it to reduce the cost and be able to use it more often. He then decides to take a look at the boss items dropped by the creature. Something seems to catch his attention. From the middle of the body, he finds an icy sword. It's a diamond rank weapon called the Heart of Annihilation. Seeing the stats, Lin gets all excited. It will basically double his strength. He didn't expect to receive such a high-level item in such an easy realm. He believes it must be a secret reward for having wiped out everyone in this place. He returns to the body to see if there's anything else decent left and starts collecting a bunch of horn fragments. Our boy managed to get a lot of potions, some money, and a few common items. Not to mention, this dragon horn allows him to summon a level 35 boss. He looks at the woman and says that next time he expects her to make the ashes of the dead. With that, he calls everyone to leave this place. At the entrance of the dungeon, it now shows that the Black Emperor cleared it in 4 minutes. The old man was there at the front, saying that it was the perfect chance to finish off this bastard who is stealing everything from him. The scene shifts to his shelter with guards in front of a door. A chubby guy there with a book is named Hu Tao. He received an S-rank ability called Future Simulation, as well as the famous Future Diary, Mirai Nikki. With this, he gained the ability to foresee many things and now has control over this world. However, as soon as he opened it, he discovered that a guy with a maid was going to come and kill him. It warned that if he wanted to survive, he should avoid this person at all costs. Hu Tao couldn't believe those words, especially since he had just received this power. But it was undeniable that this was the Future Diary. He wanted to believe there was a mistake and asked for an image. He then saw himself in the future, with Lin Lu clearly arriving with Kaguya to finish him off. He tried to pretend he wasn't Hu Tao, but he was killed all the same. Now he's desperate, trying to find a way to survive. In another reality, he tried to attack them as soon as they entered. He realized he got no chance and wondered what he could do. Once again, he was killed. Hu Tao already knows that attacking or begging for forgiveness won't give him any chance of survival. He tried to hide, but it seems they can track his location. In the last attempt, he opened the door and knelt, but he was killed just the same. He's already realized that no matter what he simulates, in the end, he always dies and there's nothing he can do. In another attempt, he discovered that the person controlled insects, and in this life, he died at the hands of a guy in black armor. Just then, some insects enter the shelter where he is. Hu Tao immediately panics, knowing that the person has arrived. He's sure it's the guy who wants to kill him. And far away on the rooftop, you can see who's coming. Lin says he didn't expect to have to use a wish just to make this guy appear. Suddenly, he sees that Hu Tao is climbing down the window. He tells the Lord to cancel the wish because it's going to be easier than he thought. Smoke rises, and they wonder if the boy is hiding in an alley. Meanwhile, the chubby guy comments that his partner is even more beautiful than he expected. Confused, the protagonist asks how he knew they were coming. Hu Tao says he's seen their arrival many times. Lin Lu remarks that such a talent is really great. Hu Tao replies that actually it's a curse since he hasn't gotten any stronger because of it. This makes it so that no matter what choice he makes, in the end, nothing changes. He tells Lin Lu to come and finish him off since he's simulated every possibility and he dies in the end. All he wanted was to die at the hands of the beautiful girl. But Lin Lu sent the Black Emperor instead. Not knowing if the guy had some trick up his sleeve, he decided not to fulfill his request. Seeing this, the chubby guy thinks that fate is really cruel and that not even this way can he change anything. With that, the poor guy is crushed. At that moment, Lin Lu approaches, activates his ability, and chooses to steal a talent. What he gets is the S-rank simulation. It allows him to simulate the future without any cooldown time. He immediately activates the talent. The further he wants to predict, the more energy he'll consume. He finds it strange that the pages are blank and asks for a 2-day forecast. The first sentence appears saying that he is Lin Lu, and if he's reading that sentence, Our boy is already freaked out. Why is that showing up like this? Future Lin Lu warns that if he's reading that, he's already been killed by a guy named Liu Yi, who is some kind of celestial master. The guy didn't say a word and attacked instantly, and unfortunately, even with the Black Emperor, he didn't stand a chance. In the end, he was defeated by a lightning storm. Lin Lu thinks it's impossible and he's really going to die tomorrow. He tries to calm himself, saying that he traveled back in time and there's no way he'll die in such a stupid way. All talents are meant to help people, so he must be missing some detail he hasn't noticed. He thinks about this guy named Liu Yi and wonders why he only fought alongside the Black Emperor. He calls the Lord of Desires and says they'll have to figure this out together. So they begin to simulate the future. The Lord of Desires seems to be observing the battle scene. Once again, he warns that he's already died and that he tried a surprise attack combining the Black Emperor and Kaguya. Additionally, he coordinated an attack with the succubus, the green monster, and the wishes. But even so, in the end, he died and the guy has an SS rank talent called Heaven's Lightning. The Lord of Desires tells him to summon all the creatures and see if that changes anything in the future. Lin realizes that maybe the book doesn't understand what he's capable of, so he starts summoning everyone, saying that the future will surely be different. With all of them staring at the book, he decides to take a look. But once again, the book says that if he's reading that, he's already dead. The message is the thing about him attacking with all the summons and losing to the guy's SS talent. Lin tells himself that he can't believe 5 S-level creatures can't beat 1 SSS-level creature. He tells the Black Emperor to punch him in the face with full force. Immediately, the savior appears, saying he'll eliminate the threat. But the boy just tells him to stand still as he simulates the future one more time. Again, he sees himself captured with all his summons dead. Lin wonders if there's a way for him to gain more energy and escape this fate. He then asks the Lord of Desires for ways to defeat Liu Yu. The Lord says the last hope lies in that unborn being called fetal movement. This strange talk refers to that egg he received. The message then changes, saying that a certain emotion was used to incubate that egg. This time, Liu managed to escape, but the fight was worth it, even though it consumed a lot of energy. Lin gets excited that the future has finally changed. Apparently, the key to making this happen is the emotion he'll choose at the moment. He then asks the Lord of Desires for this information. The Lord starts analyzing, but then his book begins to smoke. With that, he closes it immediately and warns that this wish would cause him to collapse. Our boy realizes that he can't risk losing the Lord of Desires in the fight, so he'll have to prepare differently. He quickly calls everyone and says it's time to find his brother and help him acquire an S-rank talent. Meanwhile, in a prison, soldiers are shooting at the invading insects. The problem is there are too many, and they stand no chance. Until the Black Emperor arrives and punches one of the giant ants in the head. The guys wonder if they're saved and someone calls out to them. It's Lin telling them that Zhu Shendong's sister is there to visit. Inside, the guys thank them for being saved and say that the brother is waiting for him there. I don't know how this prison is still functioning in this apocalypse, but there's our boy heading inside. The brother greets him, calling him Brother Luo. And our boy says it's been a while since he's seen his brother, who asks if he's been hurt in that place full of insects outside. Lin just replies that he's fine and that his brother doesn't need to worry. With that, the brother says he's made a lot of mistakes, but as soon as he gets out of this place, they'll help him more. Lin calls for his brother, who says the only problem is that he has no idea when he'll get out. He remembers that someone gave him an option to reduce his sentence, and with that, he tells the protagonist that soon he'll be out of this place. But our boy just says that it seems his brother never thinks about himself. He warns that outside, no one messes with him, and now his brother will be as strong as he is. Suddenly, the Black Emperor begins to appear behind the brother, who gets punched in the back. Immediately, the guard tells him to raise his hands and explain what he's done. Lin says he just brought an item for his brother, and that's not a violation. The Black Emperor then begins speaking to the boy. Instantly, his brother's talent advances from rank A to rank S. His Red Valor ability now reduces the damage he takes by even more for every 3% of life lost. The guard asks why the boy seems to be on fire, and suddenly the Crimson Lotus Knight appears. It's an S-rank creature that can deal burn damage per second. Wong realizes that this is his brother's summon. Lin says that this way he can earn merits in the prison and reduce his sentence. To me, these guys should just escape from this place, but okay. The brother asks where he got something so precious and why he didn't use it on himself. Our boy tells him not to worry, he still has many things. However, the prison's camera was watching everything, and in one of the rooms, the prison warden was laughing, saying it was interesting to know that it was so easy to upgrade someone's talent. The guard then approached and said their time was up. Lin said that now no one would harm them, and the brother told him to be careful outside. With that, he left, saying that next time his brother would already be out of this place. On the way out, the guy said the prison warden wanted to talk to him about a way to help his brother. Obviously, all of this was part of Lin's plan. He was then taken to the warden's office. The warden introduced himself as Duan Kingfeng and said he was in charge of the prison and told him to sit down. Lin knows that the strongest talent in this prison is ranked, which is why this guy doesn't want to lose this opportunity. The warden then asks if he knows about his brother's case. Our boy asks if there's something he doesn't know about. He remembers that in his past life, There was something wrong with his brother's case, but he couldn't figure it out. The warden says that his 15-year sentence was unfair and clearly framed by someone. Lin says that if the warden helps him find out who did this, he'll kill all the creatures around the prison. But the warden says that's no big deal, since those creatures will die sooner or later. What he's more interested in is what he saw regarding his brother's sudden awakening. At that moment, Lin realizes that this bastard is after the Ascension crystals. Lin says that the information about who put his brother in there isn't as valuable as a crystal like that. Obviously, the warden says he can, for example, significantly reduce his brother's sentence. As long as he hands over a crystal like that, a lot of things are negotiable in this place. Lin's expression changes and he says everything can be discussed. He asks the warden to provide some details about the case. The warden then reveals that his brother was framed by the Wan Group. Lin already knows that this is a giant organization in his city. He then asks the warden why he doesn't release the boy if he knows it was a setup. The warden says that unfortunately it all requires evidence and it's a complex case. At the time, the evidence was forged, and it's only recently that he discovered the involvement of this group. And he explains that back then, someone suppressed the case, so there wasn't much they could do. Qin Feng tells him to give up on revenge, even though he's awakened S-rank talents. He wouldn't be able to deal with the Wang group and should focus first on freeing his brother. Lin agrees with this and says that for now, he'll avoid dealing with that group. The only problem is that he's without any Ascension crystals, so he'll have to try to get one. The director gets excited, hears the name, and tells him to go fetch it quickly. Lin says he's going and bids the man goodbye. However, it's obvious that he's not too thrilled with this bastard trying to extort an item from him. A little while later, a man comes and tells the director that the base for protecting against insects is ready for him to escape. He says everyone should flee, but he'll stay and wait there, thinking about the Ascension crystal. This is the perfect chance for him to make his son awaken a summon. He remembers the time when Lin asked about holding justice. For him, it's impossible to go against the Yang group since his wife and son would likely be killed. But suddenly, the Black Emperor appears behind him, saying that smoking is bad for his health. He turns around, asking who's there. Obviously, it's Chen Lu at the window, saying that he's back. The man asks if he really managed to get the Ascension crystal so quickly. Our boy says he definitely got everything he needs. A one-way ticket to hell. With that, the director is slammed against the wall. He tries to shout for help, but it's not easy to speak. Lin tells him to give up since his voice won't leave this room. The old man then asks why Lin isn't showing any kindness, especially since he provided the information Lin requested. But Lin kicks him in the face, saying that he doesn't deserve any kindness for what he's done. With that, the poor man falls to the ground. He tries to get up, but Lin steps on his arm and demands to know who in the Wang group was responsible for what happened to his brother. The man reveals that it was the youngest master named Wang Hengxi. It seems they stole the crystal. The man reveals that it was the youngest master named Wang Hengxi. It seems they stole all the artifacts from a museum and then blamed his brother, who was nearby. Our boy thanks him with the Black Emperor delivering a blow to his thighs. The man reveals he was paid 100,000 for it, and our boy says that's a ridiculous amount. Lin then tells him to reveal where all the money from his corruption has been hidden, but the man asks if Lin really thinks he can ignore any law just because he's awakened. Lin ignores everything he says and calls for the Lord of Desires. Of course, he asks the man to reveal the information, and he ends up spilling everything about where he hid all the money. With that, he suffers a cut. Lin takes what was in the man's pocket and says he'll go collect the rest of what he stashed away. The director says that if he gets out of there alive, he'll seek justice. But our boy just asks if he really believes that he's the one in the wrong. Lin knows that all those lottery tickets he has were clearly stolen from people. In fact, he's the most lawless citizen. At that moment, some insects begin entering through the window. Lin says he won't kill the man, but life is full of surprises. With that, they leave, and Lin ordered the insects to invade the entire prison to cause chaos. But the man swears that he'll take revenge, and Lin will suffer greatly in death. Meanwhile, the guards are trying to hold off the invasion. But my son, these insects also know how to shoot. The prison sergeant, named Lian Fan, asks where the director is as he hasn't shown up yet. Nearby is the protagonist's brother, who says he'll help out a bit. The man seems hesitant, but he says that with the prison being destroyed, he can't keep holding back his S-rank talent. The man says that if he really does good, he'll receive a sentence reduction and a great achievement. Long immediately thanks him and summons the Crimson Knight. However, just then, an insect was approaching from behind. Naturally, the knight easily defended against the attack. Long then announced that they were going to annihilate everything. With that, the summon delivered a punch to the first one's stomach. The soldier was impressed that this knight alone was much stronger than countless people. Nearby, the protagonist was watching with the Black Emperor. He said that for now, it's good to let his brother take action because that way, he'll get some practice. For a long time, his brother always protected him, but now things have changed. What he wants is for his brother to get out of this place with dignity and live a peaceful life while he eradicates the darkness that plagues this world. Amid the smoke, someone shouts about being able to escape and turning everything into chaos. Lin is just observing, but the smoke prevents him from seeing anything. The Lord of Desires then says it's an S-rank person named Gao Kai who's in prison for life. Lin discovers that the guy has invisibility and asks to be able to see anything. A white-haired man begins to appear, wondering why his talent was dissipating. Just then, Lin shows up, and the man is sure that Lin was the one responsible. Before he can say anything, the man attacks with shadow vines. Lin says it's a shame, but luck is always on his side. He dodges, commenting that he heard the man only had an A-rank talent, so how is there an S-rank person here? The man, on the other hand, is furious that Lin knows about this since he tells everyone he only has an F-rank talent. Lin replies that he has his own methods for discovering these things, while thinking that he can't let such a good talent slip by unnoticed. The man tries to dodge again, saying it's a shame, but luck is always on his side, while also realizing that this boy is no inspector. He launches another attack toward Lin, thinking he must find a way to escape from this place. The Black Emperor easily blocks the blow. However, the man climbs the vines, starting to scale a wall, saying that the most important thing is to regain his freedom. At that moment, he reactivates his invisibility, confident that Lin can't see him. But he's struck by Kaguya, who already knew where he was. With that, the poor man falls to the ground like an idiot. As always, Lin chooses to steal a talent and receives a level 5 talent called Hermit. It allows him to become invisible for 1 hour once a day. Our boy doesn't seem too excited, as it appears there are limitations to something being S-rank. He decides to at least take a look at the summon and calls for the purple vines. A bunch of plant tentacles appear, and he realizes that they are meant to compensate for the lack of attack power in that ability. Suddenly, Lin feels that his main talent seems to have changed. From now on, he can't steal any more talents while the ability remains at S-rank. He immediately realizes that the limit seems to be 9 summons, but fortunately, he already has a countermeasure for this. The scene shifts to the beginner dungeon called the Valley of Wolves. Lin is there, killing the creatures. He takes a card and says that he's finally gathered enough. Taking everything from the prison guy plus what he already had, he managed to get a total of 500 cards. Using all the resources he's been saving, he's finally going to level up his talent to SS. He tells the Lord of Desires that in the next 500 spins of the roulette, he'll get enough crystals to level up. The Lord says that this time, since he has so many cards, it's a wish he can fulfill. With that, the roulette begins. Lin knows that what he needs most right now is as many Ascension crystals as possible. With that, several of these items start arriving, which will help him level up. The Lord says he has a card and that he needs more crystals to level up. With that, several of these items start arriving, which will help him level up. Obviously, those he can't use on himself, he'll give to the creatures. Finally, the moment of promotion arrives. Now he has advanced to SS and can continue stealing multiple talents, but of course in much greater quantities. Additionally, he can transform the talents he steals into gems and give them to someone else, or even do that with his own talents and lend them to someone. The limit number is gone, and now he can have up to 19 talents. The best part is that if one of his friends has a bad talent, he can simply take it away and give them a better one. The Black Emperor starts feeling a surge of power. Since they are creatures connected to him, they will all advance to SS as well. The Emperor gains new abilities and his stats increase significantly. He calls the Lord of Desires and says it's time for him to level up too. With that, he also advances to SS, gaining a bunch of attributes and a reduction in cooldown time. Additionally, now he has much higher chances of dodging and landing critical hits. The Lord thanks him, saying it feels like receiving a new life. He calls Kaguya, who as always comes at an angle where he has to throw a flash of light. She's now so much stronger that just being summoned will always consume 1 energy per hour. The Lord of Desires then says that Lin doesn't need to do anything else and that he can now help everyone else evolve. He mentions that he'll upgrade the egg to SS and also the Savior. Lin Lu thinks that with 7 SS creatures, there's no way he'll lose to that guy. However, he knows that preparation is never excessive, so he must be precise in this fight. And strangely, the old man is sitting on a rock, repeating the protagonist's exact words. It seems he knows exactly the plans Lin is making and everything he's thinking. He's startled to see that the boy already knew he would be defeated. But in the middle of the prediction, something starts attacking him. Lin Lu appears, saying he thought he'd catch him with his guard a bit lower. However, Liu asks who he is to have the courage to come there and attack him like that. Lin Lu immediately says that he's the person the old man wanted to kill. But Liu just laughs and asks if Lin really thinks he'll win just because of the summons he has. Lin Lu, with a psychopathic grin, simply smiles. And in the same instant, Kaguya is already attacking the old man. However, he activates a divine protection, summoning another ancient being. The summon strikes at her, but she manages to defend with her umbrella. The old man then orders Lin Lu to reveal who sent him there to kill him. Our boy realizes that even a stealth attack won't work on this guy. Lin Lu doesn't respond, so the old man commands him to kneel. He activates his summon again, saying that everyone before him must bow. The attack heads toward Lin Lu, but he summons the Lord of Desires and tells the Black Emperor to stop that strike. At that moment, the old man looks at Lin Lu and realizes that this was all a trap. It's at this moment that he clasps his hands together and calls upon the assistance of the Thunder God. A lightning bolt strikes near Kaguya, but she manages to dodge it. The Emperor's strike is stopped by some sort of jar. Lin Lu can't understand how, even with so many summons, the old man is still winning. Energy starts to emanate from the jar, and Lin Lu tries to order his summons to retreat. Upon hearing him tell the Emperor to fall back, the old man realizes that Lin Lu is the one who's been stealing all the dungeons. Lin Lu responds that yes, he is the Black Emperor, and today the old man will die. However, Liu Yi questions why he's being attacked so suddenly, since he's never done anything against the boy. But then he says it doesn't matter, he's not afraid of anyone, so Lin Lu can come at him. He raises his arm to the sky and calls for the Supreme Exorcist. That's when the thunder mentioned in the prophecy strikes him, and from the smoke, a giant hand emerges. Lin Lu immediately recognizes it as the SS F-Rank summon. A muscular bald man appears named Dangmo Qianzhen. Immediately, the Emperor and Kaguya decide to protect Lin Lu. The first one leaps to attack, but Dangmo easily blocks it, while at the same time, he catches Kaguya's blade with just 2 fingers. Lin Lu realizes that Dangmo hasn't even used any abilities yet and is already stopping both of his creatures. Even though the Emperor is landing direct hits, they have no effect at all. The old man seems to know that Lin Lu has something else up his sleeve, and he admits that for a guy with S creatures, Lin Lu is quite strong. However, he still has a lot of power left, so he's confident. He orders Dangmo to retreat, and Lin Lu asks if the great Liu is hesitating. The old man laughs, saying that even though Lin Lu can see the future, he won't be afraid. This shows Lin Lu that the old man knows about his ability to see the future. Lin Lu then asks the old man if that's the reason he wants to kill him. The old man says that even though Lin Lu and others can see the future, he is still the strongest. This shows Lin Lu that he's not the only one with privileged information. Now, he not only has to deal with this guy, but also figure out how to get that information. The old man says enough talking and they'll finish this now. He summons Yang Jian, telling him to finish it. The summon appears and says he's ready to follow any order. Lin Lu seems to recognize this Yang Jian, and the old man warns that it's better for Lin Lu to kneel and beg for forgiveness now. But our boy is tired of all these powers and pulls out an American-made gun. The old man asks if Lin Lu is stupid enough to think he'll win with that. But Lin Lu points the gun at himself and says that it's not meant to deal with the old man. Lin Lu tells him that he doesn't need to end his own life like this and could actually become one of his lackeys. However, Lin Lu says that's not his wish. With that, the bullet moves toward Lin Lu, but it's obviously blocked. At the same moment, the savior is summoned. He appears, saying he's ready to receive any command. The old man says it's an interesting summon, and now he understands why Lin Lu is so arrogant. Lin Lu says that he needed it to fight against those 4 as well. The old man then orders all his summons to attack. Naturally, Lin Lu does the same. The Emperor immediately jumps toward Dangmo, saying he's going to settle this. Kaguya and the Savior say they'll deal with the others. However, Yang Jian opens a 3rd eye on his forehead and says it's foolish for them to persist like this. But the Savior sends a block, saying he's brave to come at him. Yang easily cuts it in half, saying this type of magic is ridiculous. However, something explodes next to him. The Savior had turned the Q particles into a bunch of explosives. Yang seemed to be suffering, and indeed, the boy was getting beaten up. But then the old man called upon someone named Guanyin. The girl from Zhao activated a purification spell, and immediately, Yang's entire life was restored. Lin is shocked that all the damage that had been dealt was completely nullified. He knew that letting the summons attack at this pace would only waste energy. So once again, he ordered everyone to return, and this back and forth continued. The old man laughed, saying now it was his turn. He ordered everyone to attack as well. Lin is confident. So far, everything is going as recorded in the book. He then stretches out his hand, activating the perfect fusion. But now the warrior will create the Trinity by merging the 3. It still retains the waifu form, although it's now a Buddha. Her level has increased to SS++, but that's not enough. But Lin says that this is comparable to an SSS, let's see boy, because now she's going to have to win a 4 against 1. She lunges at the old man, who says she's very audacious, but she easily slices through his staff. With that, she goes face to face with Yan and the other summon. They try to defend themselves, but she warns them that it's useless. The old man then admits that Lin isn't as bad as he thought, but it's naive to think he can win like this. He pulls a card from his pocket, saying he's going to show a treasure that's hundreds of years old. He raises it to the sky and proclaims that the path is prosperous. Lin is confused because he has no idea what that means. He sees an image from 1821 when a knight single-handedly defeated an army. In 1937, when this card was given to another elder. And in 1993, when it was passed down to this man long before everything began. The old man admits that Lin is strong, but he carries the blessing of hundreds of generations. With that, he activates the summoning of the ancestors. The entire clan appears in front of the old man. This bastard has summoned all the bald ones. Lin now understands why it was impossible to win, just as the future diary predicted. The old men try to strike Kaguya, who activates an explosion. Even though she deals with the first ones, 3 more send a bunch of chains her way. The poor girl is trapped while a bell descends from above. The old man says this is the end for Lin. Once he's finished with Lin, he'll kill the other man who also knew about the future and eliminate all the variables. However, Lin remains confident and says that all this heritage of hundreds of years will end today. Liu Ye is confused, wanting to know how Lin plans to do that. At that moment, Lin pulls out that egg from his pocket and activates the detonation of emotions. He concentrates on feeling everything around him to make the right choice. He sees a girl being robbed and another being mistreated. This world could really use some feminism. He begins to feel various emotions of despair and fear in that place. Everything feels wrong until he locates something that catches his attention. The reporter who filmed him at the beginning is being congratulated for capturing footage that will help society. The way our boy fought was being broadcast to everyone. And it was announced to the army that thanks to the Black Emperor, they discovered they wouldn't be defeated just once. Our boy is now excited, saying that the future diary didn't lie to him. He then decides to collect the hope of everyone in the city. At that moment, the egg begins to absorb a golden power, and there comes a little wing here. A little angel appears. But of course, she comes to say that she'll handle the difficulties, though in this case by creating difficulties for him. She is literally the SS rank angel of hope who can gather hope. She has a blessing that can increase the stats of one of his other summons by 20%. However, at that moment, the old man summons a bunch of elders and tells them to uphold justice in this world. Our boy says that this group of Taoists is incomparably good. And with that, he sends the Angel of Hope. She activates the blessing of unlimited vitality and the dawn of hope. All the buffs are directed to the transformed Kaguya, who feels as if all her power continues to increase. At the same moment, she charges like a meteor toward the old man, who as always is using a bunch of elders to defend himself. However, Kaguya easily cuts through their attacks. The old man doesn't seem too impressed, saying that it was just a simple barrier. But then he wonders where she went in the middle of the smoke. She's already behind him, asking where he's looking. Liu Ye immediately shouts for one of the ancestors to save him. The girl with the jar starts to pull him inside the pot again. She's attacked once more and has to defend against the giant elder. She quickly cuts his weapon again and jumps toward the old man, who has summoned two more ancestors. Lin asks the Lord of Desires and the angel to use everything they have to strengthen Kaguya. Naturally, they obey, pouring all the remaining power they have into her. This creates an explosion that sends the cultivation elders flying. They begin to disappear, saying they never expected to be defeated by someone so arrogant. Liu Yi realizes that the situation is getting difficult and the best option now is to flee. However, our girl is ruthless and activates the succubus power at that moment. The old man, now without protection, is affected. She's right behind him, immobilizing him while Kaguya is battling the SSS rank summon. Our boy, using the Ben 10 tentacles, takes the opportunity to sneak up from behind and finish this. However, that woman with the jar is really annoying and is about to save him once again. Our boy tries to stop her attack but fails. However, his goal was to steal the talisman the old man was holding, and in doing so, all the ancestors he had summoned begin to disappear. Our boy says that without the ancestors, it looks like the old man can't do anything. The old man screams at him, demanding the return of the item. But obviously, Lin just gives the order for him to be killed. But this old man won't die easily. He summons yet another being, this time Tianping Yunzhen. A giant lightning-infused orc appears in the middle of the field. Our boy wonders how many tricks this cursed old man has up his sleeve. That's when the old man activates the so-called Thunder of God, just as Kaguya is about to strike. Just as the blade is about to touch the old man, he transforms into a ball of lightning and seems to be teleported away. Lin immediately tells another summon to try and locate this guy. He starts running through the cities, saying he spent too much and can't let him escape like this. Hiding behind a house, the old man doesn't know what to do now that he's lost the ancestral talisman. It's shameful, but he might have to call for some kind of backup to deal with this boy. His plan was to walk across the rivers with dignity, but now he'll have to stoop to this level. He places two talismans on his eyes to try to observe something. From a distance, he can sense someone approaching, and Kaguya is already coming, making the old man wonder how this is possible. With the speed he's coming at, he needs to disappear from this place. So he asks Tianping for help once again to get out of there. He transforms into a bolt of lightning and flies over the city. Soon after, our boy arrives with a group and orders them to keep tracking. The old man is trying to flee, wondering how this bastard always finds him so quickly. It doesn't make sense that someone could control so many creatures, have so many abilities, buffs, and a bunch of summons. He just killed a fly and a soldier asks if he's here to help. He takes a look and sees that it's just a simple king-level insect. But right then he feels something again and already knows it's the protagonist approaching. With that, he pushes the soldier aside and tells him to get out of the way. The soldier stays there, talking to himself about a disaster coming. At that moment, the creature on his back is about to strike, but then it's sliced in half. Our boy appears and asks if the soldier is okay, but the man only tells him to be careful. Our boy cuts everything in half, saying it's easy. The soldier is impressed, saying they're finally saved. He kneels before Lin Lu and begs for help, saying his weapons aren't working. Our boy gives a thumbs up and says that now that he's here, everyone is safe. In front of him is that king-level insect. The man explains that this monster is summoning many of its kind. It seems that a bunch of creatures like this are appearing in the city, each occupying a different territory. However, he warns Lin Lu to be careful because it's harder than it looks. Our boy says he was born on the battlefield, so for him, it'll be easy. With that, he just starts slashing and calls Kaguya to help. She gets ready and says the time has come. Right then, they begin to defuse, and the Emperor says that unfortunately, he couldn't do what was necessary. Lin Lu says it's okay. They managed to make the best alternative from the diary happen. And with that, the three of them attack to kill the monster. The soldier immediately recognizes him as the famous Black Emperor. He quickly calls the captain to tell him they're safe, and that this guy has priority on the battlefield. While our boy is fighting, the soldier is busy with 5 text boxes detailing how cool Lin Lu is. Boy, Lin Lu is struggling to kill this creature. He had to activate everyone's powers. For the 100th time, here comes the Emperor with his JoJo move. The insect, on the other hand, unleash a red power upwards. The guys realize that more of those insects seem to be being summoned. However, with the power of humanity's unity, everyone gets excited, saying they'll help. Lin Lu just says that since it's night, he knows the perfect person to take care of this. Besides, he's not going to waste the free experience. With that, he opens the item he received in the cave, summoning that level 35 boss dragon. That monster is as strong as an S-rank creature, but its size makes it perfect for dealing with small things. With that, the creature lets out an icy roar. Both the boss and all the summons lose speed. At that moment, he hears someone calling from behind saying they're arriving. My god, 4 copy-paste soldiers that the artist didn't even bother to tweak. Lin Lu even turns around and asks why the artist is so lazy. He then scolds them, telling them not to get involved because it's too easy. He explains that although the boss has a lot of health, all it does is summon a bunch of trash creatures. The soldiers are confused by these scoldings the boy is giving, and with that, he activates the key of the wind sword. Look, for the first time, he actually went in instead of sending in his little summons and delivered a slash. Boy, he even killed it. Look at the miracle happening before our eyes. He gained 35 million experience and a bunch of bonuses, and finally the boy reached level 29, taking it slow, to be honest. The soldier with a dumbfounded look as always is impressed because it's the top-ranked player, and our boy walks off saying he'll leave the rest of the small creatures for them to handle. Obviously, the guys are impressed, saying he's truly the example of a noble person. Meanwhile, the old man arrives at a building. He kicks the door, asking if anyone is there. But when he enters, the place is empty, and he's just embarrassed for nothing. He tries to send a message to a guy named Lao Yu, warning him how dangerous the Black Emperor is. The only option they have to defeat this guy will be to work together. He places the message on the wall because he knows he can't stay there for long. His main priority now is figuring out how to avoid being tracked by the Emperor. He summons another old man as usual and asks him to remove the ability that reveals his location. The old man gives him a little hug, saying the command is received. Immediately, he's blessed with an aura, and now he's confident that for a while the protagonist won't be able to find him. He knows that even though the item Lin stole is very powerful, it's extremely difficult to use, so he's not afraid of it. His priority now is to strengthen himself and recover it as quickly as possible. When he checks his profile, he finds it strange that one of his summons lost 120 intelligence points. However, he decides that he's stayed there too long and it's time to escape. Meanwhile, the Lord of Desires informs him that he's lost the old man's location. Our boy says that continuing to follow him is insignificant and that he has better things to do. Besides, with the future diary, he'll know whatever the old man tries to do at least a day in advance. Additionally, he makes a wish to be alerted when the old man is within 20 kilometers of him. He then decides to take a look at everything he received after such a difficult battle. However, he's impressed that the Black Emperor gained 120 intelligence points. He thinks that when the Emperor reaches SSS, his ability to steal talents will also evolve. He takes the card he stole from the old man out of his pocket and wonders how to use it. He raises it to the sky, calling for the Celestial Order. But of course nothing happens. He knows there must be a secret way to use it, but decides not to dwell on it. He hands the card to the Lord and asks that only he be able to use it. But the poor guy warns that if he does that, it will consume half his energy. Our boy says that energy is meant to be used and tells him to go ahead and use it. With that, the Lord says okay and begins the process. He hands it back to Lin Lu, who realizes it's a sacred level item. It permanently reduces the amount of mana he uses for an entire day. Lin Lu is excited because in his past life, for 3 years straight, he never obtained an item of this level. He just wonders why its functionality was so different for him compared to the old man. However, he says it's fine. He's already being too greedy, and receiving this was already very good. Now it's time for him to return to the realms and recover his energy. Meanwhile, the old man's friends learn that he lost the battle against the protagonist, and that the only way to defeat him will be to work together. One of them seems confused, saying the old man assured them he could defeat all 3 by himself, while the purple-haired one wants to know why the Emperor attacked the old man so suddenly. The man thanks them for the call and says they'll talk later. He goes to the place where the protagonist fought the old man, searching for any residual energy. He then turns to the Queen of Time and asks her to rewind the scene at that location. She agrees and begins to reverse the moment of the battle. As he watches the moments of the fight, as soon as he sees the old man being captured, he throws himself into the scene. Upon entering, he sees Kaguya and wonders if she is one of the Black Emperor's summons. He knows that behind that smoke, the guy must be hiding. With that, he locates our boy and his Lord of Desires. The man wonders if they discovered the ability to go back in time to change history. What he finds strange is that he doesn't remember someone like this being very powerful in the past. He decides he'll have to look into this guy's past to figure out why he's become stronger. That's when he sees something that shocks him. Around the protagonist, he can see magic that should belong only to the Queen of Time. The Queen then asks the Master if they shouldn't join forces with the old man. He says they first need to see how the old man lost with an SSA-level creature. With that, he rewinds even further and watches the entire fight. A while later, he collapses to the ground, wondering how it's possible for someone to have so many summons. He asks the Queen to rewind time again. However, she says it's getting too risky. He says it doesn't matter. Even if he runs out of energy, he needs to know this guy's secret. Once again, she rewinds time, and then he discovers that the protagonist was stealing someone's talent. He wonders if it was the Black Emperor who stole his ability. The Queen suggests they continue the battle and locate where he sleeps, then blow them up in his dreams. However, the man is too afraid to do that and says they need more information first. Our boy is back in the dungeon where he got the dragon and left the bodies being consumed. He thanks the dead ashes and says he'll see them tomorrow. With that, he immediately starts farming a bunch of fairies. He returns to the crystal tree that has grown more crystals. And before he forgets, he mentions that he's going to the treasure of King Fenla, who was the prison director. When he arrives at the location, he immediately orders all security to be deactivated. He enters the room, which is more modest than he expected. He then pulls a secret book, which opens another room within the same space. And inside it, he finds piles of gold bars. The boys know that a normal person wouldn't accumulate this much even if they worked for 10 lifetimes. He immediately starts absorbing everything to convert it into tickets. He then turns to the Lord of Desires and asks him to locate Wine, the guy who imprisoned his brother. He had only kept this guy alive because the old man was a priority, but now it's time to deal with him. In a building in another part of the city, a man wakes up in his room being called by his uncle. The uncle tells him to come down because breakfast is ready. The young man acknowledges and tells him to clean up that mess, warning him to bring someone more resilient next time because the last one was too fragile. The uncle just agrees, thinking that this young man is losing it. At the breakfast table downstairs, he complains that women nowadays are all too annoying. Suddenly, the entire place goes dark. Lin suddenly appears in front of him, inviting him to play a room escape game. The man stands up and asks how Lin got in there. But within a second, his face is already on the table. Lin simply says that it seems easier than he thought and warns the young master that it's best to follow the rules of the game. Lin has placed hundreds of locusts in the room. The man must reach the back door without getting caught by any of them or he'll die. Lin then bids him goodbye, saying he hopes he enjoys the game. The man gets up, wondering if he's hallucinating, but then he hears the sound of insects. He sees the locusts coming and realizes it's not a hallucination. He starts running, begging for his uncle's help. At least if he can reach the back door, he'll survive. He reaches the door and sees some smoke, feeling relieved. But at that moment, someone congratulates him for passing the first level. Now the second challenge is to get through the white mist. Wine, however, responds that he's tired of this and will end Lin. Our boy just tells him to stop being so rebellious because soon he'll be begging for mercy. Lin warns him that this time a small hunting insect will be after him, and if he can make it home, he'll survive. The man wants to complain, but the insect is already attacking him. He starts running, saying this is how he'll find Lin. But as he passes by a window, he's almost caught by the locusts. He narrowly avoids the first attack, but in the second, the creature grabs him by the leg. Before Lin can say anything, the man is already begging for his life, saying he'll give Lin whatever he wants. Lin says he just wants some answers, and it's in his best interest to cooperate. Naturally, the man says he'll answer whatever Lin wants, just ask. As soon as Lin hears the protagonist's brother's name, the man says it was all orchestrated by a guy named Changji. Lin questions if he's talking about the older brother because he already knows this family. The man says yes, and that Lin can trust him. But in reality, he activated a talent that makes anyone believe his words. Lin says that the man truly deserves to live. But at that moment, Lin strikes his chest, telling him it's ridiculous to think he could brainwash someone with a B-rank talent. The scene shifts to a father talking to his son, who's sitting on the couch. Suddenly, the father senses danger approaching. He tells his son to hide because he has something important to take care of. He activates his summon, warning him to be careful because there's something nearby. He's just waiting for someone to open the door. Our boy knows that the man he's hunting can detect any danger. As soon as he enters the room, the man asks what Lin wants from him. Lin sits on the couch and comments on everything they did to his brother. The man says he only handles the legal matters of the family, and it was his brother who did all the wrong things. Lin summons the Lord of Desires, who confirms that the man isn't lying. Our boy then says that since the man is being somewhat honest, he'll give him a chance to live. With that, he summons the Black Emperor and tells the man he'll be spared if his summon survives for 5 seconds. Changji responds that Lin seems pretty confident to make such a bet. At that moment, Changji activates his risk ability to see what will happen 1 second into the future. He sees the Black Emperor and his summon exchanging blows, but the poor thing is already thrown to the ground. Before it can react, it's finished. Lin warns that if he stands no chance, he'll just be beaten to death. But the man pulls out a gun, saying all he needs to do is finish off the Lord. However, the Lord of Desires has already made him bulletproof. The man puts the gun away and says that, in fact, he wants to buy his life and asks what our boy wants. Lin says it's an interesting offer and asks how much the man values his own life. The man says whatever the amount, he's willing to pay whatever Lin wants and provide any information. However, Lin says that, unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be an option. He then orders the Black Emperor to advance, who promptly punches Changji in the face. Lin says that this way, it'll be much easier to create a puppet within the family. And once again, he steals a new talent. This one warns him of any danger he's in and has no cooldown time. With that, Lin summons a replacement. The man's rank S-Mite appears with the name Transcendent. Lin thinks that it's not too bad, but it's a shame that it's still rank S. He then turns to the Lord of Desires and asks for that place to be attacked in 5 minutes. Meanwhile, in the industrial area of the Wang group, the last surviving son asks his father what he thinks will happen now that the world is in chaos. The father, named Dao Qiang, says that nothing will change because the rich will continue to monopolize all the power. All he has to do is sell some company assets and buy the items people are acquiring from dungeons. That way he can make all his children much stronger. At that moment, Lin enters the room saying that it's an interesting strategy. It's just a shame that he's already dealt with 2 heirs and now there's only 1 left. Dao Qiang asks what he's talking about. Lin says he made everything very clear and asks if they want to fight for revenge. The son starts to say something, but the father quickly tells him to go get a cup of tea. Obviously, he didn't want to, but the father insists, telling him to go and say nothing more. He apologizes to Lin, who says it's fine. As long as the son doesn't get involved in this discussion, he doesn't mind. The old man then asks if what Lin said is really true. Lin says he can believe it and all obstacles have been removed. He explains that the man's plan will fail because this is just the first disaster, and soon everything will collapse. Dao Qiang seems doubtful, asking if the boy is lying. Lin says it's the absolute truth and that he will kill anyone who stands in his way. The only chance for Dao Qiang to survive is if the entire Wang family starts supporting him. Knowing that the choice is between accepting or dying, the man ends up agreeing. As the son returns with the tea he was sent to fetch, Dao Qiang immediately orders him to summon a person named Lai's son, who has awakened an S-rank talent. He then tells Lin that this person he's calling can create contracts. A while later, the man arrives. Dao Qiang turns to Lai's son and tells him to demonstrate his talent and explain how it works. Lai's son says the ability is called the Tomorrow Contract, and it can establish rules for both parties. Lin imagines that it must be similar to the Book of Wishes. With that, Dao Qiang asks if Lin is willing to sign the contract. The contract states that Lin must help Dao Qiang dominate the entire Wang family, and the Wang family must provide all possible support to help Lin become stronger. Dao Qiang places his hand on the contract and tells Lin to do the same. With that, the contract is signed. But Lin seems confident that he can break it at any time. Lin then starts to leave, saying it was a great meeting, but he has other matters to attend to. The son turns to Dao Qiang and asks why he made an alliance with that guy. The father reveals that if the boy really killed his other 2 brothers, he didn't stand a chance, and this might be a good opportunity. Once again, Lin is back in the city with the same mission as always, to get stronger. First, you will have to go to the instances that few people have visited to collect all the potions. Then he has to create a company and establish a guild. This way, he monopolizes everything and keeps the profits for himself. After some time farming, his sword evolves to the Fire Leap, and now he's all over Soldier Online with 2 little swords. The level 39 lizards don't stand a chance against him. The boy continues farming, collecting everything in sight. His goal now is to level up these 2 swords to the limit he can. Later, he finds himself face to face with 2 blacksmith kittens. He remembers that in his past life, he never managed to defeat Monokuma, no matter how high his level was. The strength of this creature is a mystery, and many say it's basically invincible. In front of that place, a man complains that his level 13 sword was broken. Our boy sees that he was complaining to the black and white bears and knows he's going to get into trouble. The guy is kicked out of the shop. The bears tell him never to return. With that, Lin Lu shows them the item and asks if it can be strengthened. The bear says it's very precious and he needs the essence of the king. He knows this can only be obtained from a level 30 boss, so it looks like he doesn't have a chance for now. He then summons the 2 swords. The bear examines them and says that it's actually pretty good equipment and asks him to wait. He grabs the big hammer and says he'll get to work. Time passes as he hammers away at the items. Later, they are all glowing, and he says it will cost 10 gold coins. Both are now strengthened, and Lin Lu knows what to do. The bear says they are now at +5, but if he wants, he can strengthen them even more. But our boy knows these bastards just want to break his item. The +5 is guaranteed, but from here on, the chances will be lower, and they certainly won't make it. But the Slay Boy has a plan and tells the bear that it really sounds like a great idea. The bear laughs in his face, thinking that humans are always stupid and greedy. The bear raises the hammer, saying that he can trust him. There's no way it will fail. The bear hears something and asks what it was. Our boy says he just made a simple wish for luck. The bear slams the hammer down, saying it's ridiculous to think that's enough. The chance of failure will continue to increase, so failure is inevitable. However, strangely enough, the sword actually upgraded to +6. The bear is confused, he didn't even try hard, yet it worked. With that, the sword is strengthened again and many more times while the bear is doing everything he can to break it. He looks at the two swords filled with air and asks how it's possible that it upgraded 30 times without a single failure. Lin simply thanks him and asks if it's reached the limit. The bear apologizes, saying that unfortunately, that's as far as he can go. Our boy thanks him, saying it's a pity, while thinking that he's finally gotten revenge on this bastard who broke several of his items in his past life. Suddenly, a robot appears next to him and lists all the attributes and the name of the sword he's carrying. Lin is confused as to how that guy knows about his item and warns him that if he keeps broadcasting this information to everyone, he'll be cut in half. The robot seems to ignore him and walks past. However, Lin wants to know where the real body of this bastard is. Someone named Eagle sends a message saying he prefers to stay hidden in his safe place. He comments that Lin seemed very confident in upgrading the weapon and asks if he has something that increases the success rate of such things. Lin asks if the guy has ever heard the saying, "Curiosity killed the cat." The guy replies that he just wanted to know if Lin could help him strengthen his items in the future. And of course, he would be introduced to a business that would make him a lot of money. Our boy thinks he could just pretend to be a weak guy, and that this might be the only way he can make money. With that, he agrees to cooperate with this guy. The scene shifts to a meeting where they discuss the high probability of another disaster occurring after this one ends. Therefore, they will need new people to maintain peace in the city, and someone like the Black Emperor would be perfect. One of them seems to disagree with putting someone outside the system in such an important position. Another, with long hair, says that the Black Emperor's brother is serving time in prison, so it's inappropriate to have someone like him. The old man says it's more than clear that this was a setup, and no one should go against him. As soon as this disaster is over, his brother will be released. Additionally, when they recruit the Black Emperor, they'll grant any condition he wants. The others think it's a bit too much and ask if it's really necessary to go that far. However, the old man shouts that in this situation, they need 100% cooperation from the strongest people. In prison, Lin Lu is explaining to his brother various ways to get stronger and how to use different items. He says he's going on a trip and hands his brother a feather of hope, telling him that if he encounters any danger, he should use it. His brother tells him not to worry so much and to resolve the problems he's facing. In the prison, the others are observing, realizing that his brother is the Black Emperor. Outside, he knows that another part of China is about to collapse, and that's where he needs to go if he wants to get stronger. He then asks the Lord of Desires to find the quickest path to the place he wants to reach. Apparently, it's a place called Bright Media, and he asks for the information to be sent to him. In an office, a girl tells the boss that the situation outside has calmed down and that she's brought new candidates. However, Lin grabs the folder from her hand, saying that it's not very important. He says he trusts any choice she makes, and she simply thanks him. Lin, on the other hand, is outside, and this is where the company's interest lies. He then asks the Lord of Desires to make sure no one recognizes him as the Black Emperor. Immediately, he enters. The same girl introduces herself and asks if he is Lin Lu. He says yes, and she immediately calls him, saying the boss is waiting. With that, our boy enters the lion's den. The boss looks at his resume and says he fits the company well and asks if he really wants to join. Enthusiastically, our boy says yes, it would be great to be part of it. The boss says it's good to hear that and tells him he just needs to go through the initial training. The scene shifts to outside the building, where everyone is talking about traveling abroad. A man with green hair says he will form the teams, and he is the supervisor of all this. His name is Mr. Gu, and everyone thanks him for the help, but he simply tells them to get on the bus first. Inside, a guy in a blue shirt says he heard strange news about the city of Mianjiang. However, another says that guy is very reliable, so nothing bad must be happening there. Mr. Gu tells them to stop complaining because many people want to join this company. Meanwhile, our boy is just following the quickest path to get to that city. They pick up the rest of the group that will be taken along. Even the local boss is laughing with everyone. The people seem excited, and the boss says there are 2 hours left before the flight takes off. However, they think everything looks a bit rundown. They ask why they can't go in a better car to the airport because this one won't even make it there. But the boss just slaps them and tells everyone to get in and shut up, warning that those who don't follow the rules won't get anywhere. With that, a guy activates an ability and runs off, saying this doesn't make any sense. The guy with the golden chain says not to kill the man because he has talent. He activates his ability called Judgment Pen. He writes something in the sky that says the man can't move. Instantly, the poor guy is paralyzed. The boss praises him, saying he really has an incredible talent. The man replies that he does everything for the boss and the girls they've been training. In the background, Lin is just observing all this mess. With that, the boss tells everyone to hurry up. Our boy is excited, saying it's really cool to meet an S-rank right when he arrives. He sees that the guy stayed outside and has a wicked idea. He's going to wait until this guy is at the maximum distance for his summons to kill him with Kaguya and the Emperor. As soon as no one can see, he summons them. In an instant, the poor guy is finished. The Emperor delivers a blow to the back of his neck. From the bus, Lin calmly activates his theft ability. He acquires the ability of Audit. When he's about to receive an unavoidable attack, the blow is slowed down. He knows that even though it has a 12-hour cooldown, it's still a good counterattack ability. Going to another city to steal new abilities is going to be paradise. Not to mention, in other places, no one knows the Black Emperor. The Transcendent will probably be enough in these weaker places. Up ahead, the guys are talking about killing the armed men and escaping from that place. The short-haired guy is hesitant, but the red-haired one says it's their only chance, or they'll die there. Our boy realizes that the guy is hesitating because he's afraid of getting shot. Suddenly, the boss turns around and tells everyone to get off the bus. The guys are sure they'll be killed and start begging to go home. The boss says that anyone who makes another sound will be killed right now. A girl at the window screams that she still has a child at home. The soldier says to bring her out. The poor girl is dragged out by her hair. Meanwhile, Lin activates the hermit talent to disappear for a while. He's now free in the city, and it's time to check out the situation. A guy meets with that boss and thanks him, saying that the people this time are really good. He doesn't need to worry because the girl will be sent to him later. While the guy is happily heading up to his room, Lin is just following him up the stairs. Just as the guy is about to enter the door, someone calls out to him. He hesitates, but Lin kicks him in the back. He falls to the ground like an idiot, and a mohawk guy asks what he's doing. Embarrassed, he says it feels like he got kicked. Suddenly, the door closes on the two of them. The mohawk guy says it looks like he has some sort of plan, but the guy tries to explain that he doesn't know anything. The mohawk guy just slams the table and tells Lin to show himself because he knows someone is there. Lin starts to appear, saying the guy is too calm. The boss recognizes him and asks why he isn't with the other prisoners. Our boy just laughs, saying he's found one of the worst cliché gangs. But the boss warns that Lin will disappear from the territory now or he'll be killed. Lin asks if the guy really believes he can kill him like that. Just then, the other boss jumps toward Lin, saying he deserves to die. But the Transcendent shows up and stops his punch, delivering one to his stomach, and the fat guy is done. He's thrown into the wall, breaking the entire room. Scared, the guy asks what level Lin's talent is, but says he's an idiot because he's not faster than a bullet. Some bullets are fired, but Lin easily defends with his armor. The guy slumps in his chair and asks what Lin wants. Our boy simply says that from now on, he's the boss of this place. Hesitant, the guy asks if he really wants to be the king of Mayan Bay City, while wondering why no one is coming to the room despite all the shooting. Lin sips his tea and says the guy should already understand the situation he's in. The guy says he doesn't exactly get it and asks who's backing Lin, certain that he's some kind of thug from another gang. Lin just warns that if he keeps being a nuisance, he'll be beaten to death and snaps his fingers, calling for the Transcendent. The guy shows up and delivers a blow to his chin. Even when grabbed by the collar, the guy says he won't get away with this. Lin then orders the Transcendent to help the guy understand what's happening. The guy takes a kick to the chest, and with his hands in his pockets, Lin approaches and asks if he really wants to continue. Now trembling, the guy says he finally understands everything and promises to do whatever Lin wants. Lin immediately asks how many S-rank summoners are under this guy's command. He says 2, but one of them was transferred, so only 1 is in this place. Our boy isn't stupid and tells him to get that person there now. In the corridors, the guy receives a notification about something terrifying arriving in China. The guy's talent is the irrational narrator, which allows him to escape any danger. He's sure something happened to Boss Ming, but the system tells him to stop being an idiot because if he opens that door, he'll definitely die. He decides to turn around, telling the boss he'll come back to save him later. But at that moment, the system tells him to start running or he won't make it out. Before he can do anything, Kaguya and the Emperor are summoned in front of him. The system keeps saying that the two are dozens of times stronger and that he should flee. But before the poor guy can do anything, he's already dead. As always, the guy is still blown up by the Emperor. Our boy is thrilled. It's been too easy lately to steal S-rank talents, but he's startled when he sees the talent. That's the perspective of the gods, but he only has a small piece of it. It shows that the talent can affect up to 10 meters of distance. At that moment, a message appears saying, "Hi, I'm your new substitute." What he receives is an indecent narrator who keeps saying that the talent isn't enough. He can't get any information about the opponent. The system tells him not to be too surprised since only he can hear this voice. Our boy is all excited since the 2 talents today have been quite interesting. Then the guy asks how the judgment pen ended up in his hand. Lin Lu uses it towards the guy, who seems confused. Lin Lu celebrates, saying it's too easy, and that the effect is very good. The guy falls to the ground, drained of energy, and begs him to stop. But our boy just writes for him to try harder. With that, the guy feels energized and says he's ready. However, he falls to the ground immediately, saying Lin Lu is a demon. Lin Lu says it's interesting but doesn't quite fit his fighting style. He then decides to test out the indecent narrator. He quickly discovers that Chief Ming has over 90 million in currency, along with 200 people who are extremely well armed, and he's subjugated more than 672 people to perform various illegal acts. Lin Lu gets excited. Obtaining key information with that talent is very easy. He asks the guy how he has over 90 billion when they look like a bunch of poor people. At the same time, he stops the guy, telling him to answer quickly. The guy clings to his leg, trying to explain that even though they make a lot of profit, it's very expensive to maintain all of this. Not to mention, selling to a bunch of immigrants means he has to pay a tax in this place. Lin Lu is angry that the guy is deceiving his own people to sell to others, and that this city seems to be a sin from start to finish. He says he won't kill the guy, but he'll have to do a little job for him. The scene shifts to a guy asking why the boss summoned everyone. He looks at Lin Lu and asks what he's going to do. Obviously, at that moment, everyone starts getting attacked. They begin to ask what's going on and if the boss is behind all of this. Lin Lu just says they will be food for him to get stronger. Then a guy seems to recognize him as Lin Lu. Lin Lu realizes this is Chief Gu, one of the guys who hired him at the first company. With that, he explains what's happening and tells Mr. Gu to capture everyone and throw them in the river. Scared, he tries to explain that the people there have weapons, but Lin Lu simply says he has a master in that place, so they don't need to worry. With that, he turns to everyone and says it's time for them to rise to power. The excited guys all shout, saying they want revenge. Meanwhile, the other fools in the new place are still immobilized. Mr. Gu thanks him and asks when Lin will return to their country. Lin asks when he mentioned that. Gu responds that it was just an assumption since Lin took care of all the bad people in that place. He says he just wanted to tell everyone that he wasn't fooled. He purposefully allowed himself to be captured and went there voluntarily. He's there to end this entire operation, so how could he leave now? They need to take revenge by stealing all the resources they have and dominating these territories. The people say it would be the most just thing to do, but they don't have weapons for that. Some of them beg to go back, saying they don't want to be part of this. Gu says that with the 100 people they have, it would be impossible to dominate this place. The system says that he's not convincing these people. However, an unexpected guest is about to arrive. He should show his true power, and then they will agree to work for him. With that, he tells everyone that he will show them whether it's possible to dominate this place or not. In the next scene, we see a car driving through some mountains. The guys seem to have information on the Black Emperor and are tracking him. But right at that moment, our boy lands on the car's hood, asking if they're looking for him. The guys ask what he's doing. Without answering, Lin draws his blade and unleashes an explosive slash. The attack hits the car directly. The system tells him he killed the guys so quickly that he should give a villain a smile. But suddenly, a little pig comes up behind him, and the system warns him to be careful. Lin easily dodges. The system says it's impossible to hit the boy with such an incredible talent like that. The pig finds it strange and wonders how this kid dodged him. The system keeps sending a bunch of messages about summoning the Emperor Lord or perhaps finding the identity of the other person with the Lord of Desires. Or the best option might be to take a look at the pig's belly because the guy's master is right there. Lin is confused by this. He was paying attention to what was happening. He was about to tell this damn system to shut up, but it turns out it's not so useless after all. He turns to the pig and tells him to come out because he knows he's hiding. The guy appears from inside the pig, wondering how the hell Lin knew he existed. The system then says that this person is the second most trusted by Chief Ming. Our boy smiles since he really needed a lot of information about this place. He pretends to be one of the guys from their team and says he's here to help the guy. The guy finds it strange since he received a message to stay on guard there. However, Lin tells him the secret code that only the leaders should know. The guy then decides to believe him and asks how many people were sent. Our boy says that a small place like this only needs him. Sometime later, he meets back with a group who think it's amazing that he solved it so quickly. He then introduces the guy named Fan Jishing and announces that he's here to help everyone dominate the city of Yimianbei. The guy says he's also from the chief's hometown. Lin warns that another major disaster is coming, and they need to monopolize everything that will happen in this place. Jishing asks if it's something like those insects, and the protagonist confirms it is. However, the others say the enemies have many weapons, and in addition, there are some S-Rank Awakened individuals. At that moment, Lin pulls out a Nerf gun and performs a little trick where it glows. With that, he shows that no weapon is effective against him, and moreover, the Black Emperor can easily defeat any S-Rank creature. That's when the guy next to him recognizes him as the Emperor and is amazed. Our boy says that with him there, they don't need to worry, as it will be pretty easy to conquer everything. The guy gets excited, saying that if that's the case, he definitely wants to cooperate, and Chief Gu tries to encourage everyone by saying that since things have changed, they need to get stronger. Lin tells them that once they dominate this place, everyone will have the resources to evolve even faster. The guys get excited, saying that if that's the case, they want to participate. Lin says it's time for the conquest to begin. He's going to cleanse this city of the sins that exist within it and finally become the king of likes in this video that helps Mamoru make more juicy content for his viewers. Activate the cheeky little bell, and I'm out.